For foreign cars, the game is hard. Keep it funky. Who said he was? Like that on the tanks, bleach, spaghetti sauce. If y'all ain't shaking with stagging, then y'all already lost, already crossed. Already fallen. Plus anybody that say no, I'm taking numbers. I'm taking names. I'm taking chains. Take this hunger, pain, pain, pain. Can you feel the thunder and rain? I don't talk it like the Rambo, I get it done in the game, y'all. Do me a favor, don't never play with my ball. Never been a player hater, I just ain't playing with y'all. You out your playing, going hard to get your 2 shots, now I'm facing a charge. 5 to 9, let's go take a ride. They might get you by surprise. You outside, but if you feel for the shit, you might survive. Yes, I see you when you wake up on the other side. Yeah, 5 to 9, let's go take a ride. They might get you by surprise. You let it slide, but if you feel for the shit, then you might survive. Yes, I'm on that other side. Ever since a nigga was a seed, only thing promised to me was the penitentiary. Still ballin', riding on these niggas cause they lame. In a 6-1 Chevy, still heavy in this cat. Can you feel me? Blame it on my mama, I'm a thug nigga up before the sun rise. Looking in the jug till the sun is the sun. Nigga that we first up on bus on these bitch made niggas sit them up. West side, ain't nobody as a broke nigga. Finger on the trigger, Lord forgive me if I smoke niggas. I let my female strap. The fucker from the back, I get my currency stack. California's where I'm at, right? Pass by while these niggas wonder why I got shot but didn't die. Let them see who's next to drop. Did I cry? Hell nah.
Without the night out. Listening to Wrestle Talk. 657-383-1521. We'll be discussing WWE, NXT, Lucha Underground, ROH, fantasy wrestling, and we have some of the best damn interviews for professional and independent wrestling that you've ever heard.
And I'm Joe Lamb. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts, keep your arms in the vehicle at all times. Wrestle Talk begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride. What is up, Wrestle Talk fans and family? Nightmare Jones here once again, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. It is time for another edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. And if you are listening to the sound of my voice, you have made a excellent choice, ladies and gentlemen. A excellent choice. Excuse me while I get my microphone situated. There you go. Wait a minute. There you go. Stupid microphone, I'm telling you. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show tonight. We got the High Spot segment. We got the Shoot and Shout segment. We got the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. We got the Fantasy Wrestling segment. We got the Snippets of Truth. And if that's not enough for you, ladies and gentlemen, our 2 guests for the night. Coming on at 7:30, the one and only Big Daddy P. It's going to be amazing to be able to talk to him about everything he's been doing in the professional wrestling business. And then at 8:30, we got some guy coming on. I don't know who it is. I'm sure that we'll find out who it is at 8:30 when they call it. But I got to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pissed off. I am pissed off because I watched that Elimination Chamber and that mother... Brock Lesnar won the mother... Universal Championship once again, and thank you, Anton Timmy, for censoring me. Anyways, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, ladies and gentlemen, the Night Owl.
Unmuted.
¿Qué pasa, loyal members of the Wrestle Talk family? Thank you so much for being here for episode 255 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Man, I am the Night Owl, broadcasting live right now from the heartland of the United States, good old Kansas City. And you already heard my man. He already did a badass introduction. Nightmare Jones representing the Mountaineer State, the great state of West Virginia. Man, Jonesy, I am excited for today's show, though I will not lie, it's been a very rough last couple of days. Some of it I'll give you now, and some of it I'll give to you during the Shoot and Shout segment. But let me start off by saying that I'm super duper grateful to everybody who tunes into the show. And that's not just hearsay, okay? That's not just lip service. Because today, we are going to be giving away a general admission ticket to tomorrow night's Journey Pro Wrestling show at Kansas Hall, okay? Again, we are going to be giving away, we're going to be giving away a general admission ticket to the Journey Pro show tomorrow night at Kansas Hall. It's really, really simple. All you got to do is answer this question. And no, we will not accept your responses on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Not even the YouTube live feed. No, we need you to call in if you want this general admission ticket. And I have it on pretty good authority that they are about a frog's hair from selling out, Jonesy. So this may be your lone opportunity to get your hands on the ticket, because if you go down there last night, there's a chance that you may be turned away at the door. And here is the question, okay? Again, you have to call in to win. And if you can't be at the show tomorrow, because some of us work on Thursday nights, we are also giving away a second prize. And that is this fully customized, brand new, fresh out the box, stop, look, and watch Journey Pro trucker hat, never before worn. So as you guys can see, we are representing Journey Pro to the fullest. We're very excited about what those guys got going on over there. So we want to encourage you guys to play a part in tonight's trivia. And here's the question, Jonesy. It's actually not very difficult. It doesn't take a whole lot to figure it out. Here's the question. Okay. If Jeremy Wyatt successfully retains the Gateway Heritage Championship tomorrow night, how many successful title defenses of said championship will he have under his belt? That is the question, folks. If Jeremy Wyatt, the current...
I know the answer.
You do? Okay, well, you're not eligible. So, sorry. Again, Joe, you're the host. You're the host. You don't get a chance to win. I'm sorry.
That is a bunch of...
All right. Enough with the beef. Damn it. You're killing me with that. Cut it out.
Fucking bullshit.
Well, listen, again, guys, if Jeremy Wyatt retains the Gateway Heritage Championship tomorrow night at Cruel Summer, how many successful title defenses will he have under his belt? That's what we need to know. That said, ladies and gentlemen, we do need to proceed with tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast. But before we do, we're going to ask everybody to respectfully remove their caps, place their hands over their hearts as we pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth, and that's America, damn it.
Oh, say, can you see and the rocket red flag? Uh-oh. I'll make up for it now. Oh, the land of the free.
Brings a tear to my eye every single time, ladies and gentlemen, every time.
Every time, indeed. Well, Jonesy, I know we got a lot of business to get through. I did also want to give a huge thanks once again to Dean Mercer, who won the Bucks of Jericho t-shirt just last week. So we're actually starting a little bit of a routine here, a tradition where at least once a month we're going to give something away. It may be something small, it may be something big. I don't really know. Whatever we have the resources to get. So there are many benefits to being a listener to the Wrestle Talk podcast. Not only are you going to hear about some of the best independent wrestling in the world, you're also going to hear from national and international stars. You're going to hear from the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. That'll be right after the break. And then, of course, wonderful guests from throughout the world of pro wrestling, not just in-ring talent. And tonight is a great example of that. We've got a promoter in Big Daddy P who's going to be joining us here in about 25 minutes. And then, Jonesy, you, for the first time ever, are going to be a guest on your own show because there's so much stuff that you've been doing that you never get a chance to talk about because this show is all about the fans, obviously. We want to talk to the fam. A lot of cool stuff that you've been up to recently, bro. So we're going to get a chance to interview you for the full 25-minute segment, man. Are you excited?
I am excited. I definitely am excited. I have a bunch of stories, and it should be interesting.
It's going to be interesting for sure. All that said, guys, the phone lines are open. We want you to go ahead and dial that number because we want you guys to have an opportunity to go over and check out our friends over at Journey Pro Wrestling tomorrow. Again, the question is, if you can tell us how many successful defenses Jeremy Wyatt will have if he retains the Gateway Heritage Championship tomorrow night, you will be the proud owner of one free general admission ticket to tomorrow's show. And we have the trucker hat to go that needs to go as well. So I'm going to try to think of another question for that. If I can't, we'll go ahead and give that one away next week. No big deal. But we want you guys engaged and involved. All that said, High Spot segment is coming up here in just about 30 seconds. And in that segment, Jonesy, we talk about anything and everything related to the world of pro wrestling. And that's really the segment where the callers take over. Anything in the world of pro wrestling you guys want to talk about, it can be a topic that myself or Joe bring up, or it can be something completely out in left field. We take pride in doing this segment because we're ready to talk about anything. We feel like we're fairly knowledgeable, okay? And we feel like we could speak intelligently about almost every subject in professional wrestling. Wouldn't you agree with that, Jonesy?
Absolutely, yes, 100%.
Love to hear that. All right, well, unless you got something else, Jonesy, let's go ahead and have intern Timmy cue up the music so we can get into tonight's edition of the High Spot segment.
Earth rings. We have now taken over your radio. I hit 'em high. You hit 'em low, hit 'em low. Going to the hole. The ain't got no game. I'm breaking you out the frame, coming through like a train. I'm gonna take over the whole world. Is my goal with my unstoppable team taking on control. You can't get none of this. We're running this. Well, take up, earth shaker, 3-point gun in this. Get up the lane. I'm coming through with it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, this is your opportunity to get involved into the show. So what we need you to do is call 657-383-1521. That's 657-383-1521, and you can talk about whatever you want to in the world of professional wrestling. I'm going to start it off. We've had quite a weekend of professional wrestling. On Saturday, you had Fight for the Fallen,
all right,
as well as Evolve. And then Sunday, you had Extreme Rules. And then you had Monday Night Raw. And then last night, you had SmackDown. So you literally had 5 days in a row of wrestling. Well, 6 days because tonight is NXT. So really, you got 6 days in a row. I was not able to catch much of Fight for the Fallen. I don't know if you watched much of it.
No.
But I did catch the Evolve show, and I must say I was very impressed with what I feel are going to be the next superstars in NXT / the WWE. I don't know if that's how you feel, but I feel that that's that was like a showcase of the next superstars that are coming to NXT/WWE.
Okay, and this is how I explained it to Fury, my son, Jonesy. He's like, Dad, because he's been really getting into wrestling lately. He was watching No Way Out 2004 just a little while ago, which, by the way, man, I always underestimated how great Chavo Guerrero was until I saw that match between him and Eddie Guerrero. Not Eddie Guerrero, I'm sorry, Rey Mysterio. Good stuff from Chavo. Here's how I explained to him. What NXT is to WWE is what Evolve is to NXT. It's the developmental for NXT. And NXT is the developmental for WWE. Now, if you want to make the argument, and Intern Timmy, go ahead and check those phone lines. We got a couple of people on hold now. Let's see if we can get some callers on. The future of what you are going to see within the next 6 months to a year in NXT, a lot of that talent you'll see at Evolve. Shane Strickland was at Evolve for a while. I know when we talked to ACH late last year, he talked to us about his time in Evolved and how it kind of helped change his career. Okay, so if you guys are looking for, let's just say, double A ball, if NXT's triple A ball right before the majors, then Evolve is double A ball. And in many cases, you're actually going to see better wrestling on NXT and Evolve than what you're going to see in WWE. Not because the WWE talent is less than, it's because they're allowed to do a little bit more when it comes to their in-ring stuff than what you're going to see with WWE. And of course, the WWE guys are working 3 to 5 nights a week, doing house shows, Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, and all that. And Evolve show may only happen once a month. You get what I'm saying, or every 2 weeks. So there's a reason for that. The more you work, the less risk you can take, which makes a lot of sense. But I'm telling you, you're missing out, guys, if you're not giving Evolve a shot. And if you don't have time, I understand that. But at the very least, your stinking ass should be watching NXT. I mean, damn, if you claim to love pro wrestling, make some time for NXT, because that's really where it's going down. All the guys that you love that are up on the main roster today, with the exception of a few guys, the AJ Styles or whatnot, they all got their start down in NXT, at least when it comes to their career within the WWE. So give them a chance. So, yeah, hopefully that helps explain it. I have not seen the Evolve show yet. I was a little bit more caught up with the G1 Supercard. Just really, really been into that, man. I spent all day today watching videos about New Japan Pro Wrestling and the origins of the Bullet Club. I actually fell asleep for a little while, woke back up, kept watching. And let me tell you, man, I am enamored with New Japan Pro Wrestling. But that's just me, bro. And that's the beauty of pro wrestling. Like, you don't have to like one particular flavor. There are a lot of different flavors, dude. And that's what makes it so exciting. So you talked about Evolve. You talked about Fight for the Fallen. We haven't talked about Brock Lesnar cashing in. We haven't talked about the rumors about Finn Balor wanting to take a break. I haven't talked about the incredible XWE show that I got to do this past weekend, where I am officially their lead commentator through the rest of 2020. So there's a lot of great stuff that we can talk about, but it's not about me, Jonesy. It's not about you. It's about the callers. So let's go ahead and bring one on and see what they want to talk about tonight. And maybe this caller wants to win the ticket to the Journey Pro Wrestling show tomorrow night in Kansas City. But you got to have the right answer if you're going to take a guess, because if not, we're going to make fun of you like for forever. So if you're going to guess, you better get it right, guys, darn it. Jonesy, who do we got?
Oh, my goodness. We have a gentleman that has not called into the show for quite some time. You and I both know this gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring on to you to the podcast, Sonny Money Mayo. What is going on, sir?
Well, thank you for that introduction, Mr. Joe Lance. What is up, my friend? What's up, Wrestle Talk Podcast? Everybody out there listening. Hope you guys are doing well this evening. I'm glad I'm able to start joining the show and participating in the show again. I've switched some hours around here at my job. I had to tell my boss, listen, there's a couple things that are important in life. Obviously, my family, paying bills, but I got to have Wednesdays off. I got to listen to Wrestle Talk Podcast. I can't keep missing out. I missed out too long.
My brother, love to hear it, man. That's awesome, Sonny. Thank you, bro.
Nah, no problem, man. So listen, the reason I'm calling in, got to watch AEW Saturday night. Was somewhat fairly impressed with the card. As you guys know, it's hard for me to watch wrestling as much as I would like to watch it, but I try to pay attention as much as I can. The reason I'm calling in, though, is to praise something that I've been really impressed with, and that is the one and only Kevin Owens. I've been watching SmackDown recently and seeing him going into his feud with Shane McMahon, and I got to say, just the promos he's been cutting have been feeling very authentic, coming from the heart. And it's something that I'm glad to see, because I think, as most people know who pay attention to wrestling as much as we do, WWE is famous for scripted promos, and they almost want you to go word for word. Now, I don't know how true the dirt sheets are, but they've been saying they've been letting Kevin Owens basically run with the ball on the mic. They give him a few bulletin points, and then they let him go out and cut his own promos. And so far, it's been aces, at least in my opinion. So I'm extremely happy that overall it looks like Raw and SmackDown are trying to at least steer the ship in the right way, with Bischoff coming in and Heyman coming in. And that first Raw that Heyman took over was great, and I actually liked Raw this past week. I know some people didn't. I enjoyed it. But yeah, definitely Kevin Owens, man. He's been really, really impressive to me lately. And it's not to say that he's not an impressive guy as is, but what he's been doing lately has been great. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Jonesy, why don't you jump on in here, bro? Because I know you got some thoughts about that. Hang with us, Sonny. Don't go anywhere.
I do. I definitely do. I feel that they are trying to. It kind of reminds me of a Stone Cold character, where he's told he's against the boss, and he's hitting the stunner, and so I'm just waiting for the time when we start to hear this chant again.
What? What?
It definitely seems a lot like something that we've seen before with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but it's freaking awesome. I like it. Renee?
Well, hey, thank you guys, and I appreciate your opinion, Jonesy. I absolutely have to agree. I believe that there's been a bit of an awakening. WWE realizes that they can no longer stand pat and continue to dominate the pro wrestling conversation. And here's the crazy thing, Sonny, I know you've been listening to the show for a long time. Like, we could literally do a whole Wrestle Talk podcast and not talk about WWE once. That's how spoiled we are as pro wrestling fans. So they're having to do something to strike a chord with the, let's just say, 15 to 24 demographic. And how do you do that? You bring that real shit, you bring the hot ladies, and you have more hard-hitting wrestling. And that's exactly what they're doing, dude. And I'm proud of them. And then the fact that they found someone that's capable, because you could argue all day, man, they should have been doing this 4 or 5 years ago. My question is, who was going to do it? Who has the ability that Kevin Owens does? Who has the ability that Stone Cold does? Who has the ability that The Rock? It's not like these guys are just sitting there waiting. All right. It's not like these guys are sitting around waiting for the opportunity to do this, and that you could just pull any Joe Schmo from the locker room. Kevin Owens has the pedigree, the experience, the ability on the mic, and he can back shit up in the ring. So I think it's kind of like they did it out of necessity, but they also did it, Sonny, because they finally have somebody that they can trust to do that. That guy used to be Jericho. That's the guy you can just give the mic to and go, man, just go sell the fucking pay-per-view. Like Paul Heyman, right? Just give that guy the mic. Let him go sell the fucking pay-per-view. They finally found somebody else that can do that. And I got to tell you, I completely agree with you, man. I could not be more excited that we could potentially be seeing the re-emergence of a Stone Cold type storyline. Obviously not with Vince McMahon and Austin, but now with Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens. It's very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. And you know what? And it's like you said, Renee, it's hitting that 18 to 34 demographic. And also, like you said, you guys could sit here and probably do 2, maybe even 3 full Wrestle Talk podcasts full of pro wrestling and not even mention a single word of WWE. And so what they're doing with Owens is finally bringing that conversation back to guys like us, guys like Joe Lance, guys like Renee, guys like Sonny, that we want to talk about it. We don't want to sit here and talk about AEW or Evolve for 30 minutes at a time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we've been begging for a reason for WWE to give us something to talk about in a positive light and not in a negative light. So with that being said, I hope not only just Kevin Owens, but all these guys in the locker room, as Vince McMahon would say, find brass ring, go up and grab it, and hopefully don't have some Joe Schmo schmuck of a writer from NYU holding back on his promo abilities, because we know they can bring it in the ring. They got some of the best wrestlers in the world, but I think that's been their Achilles heel, is just the promos and the storyline. So hopefully they're realizing, hey, we weren't doing the best at it, but we can definitely get better. And I think they did realize that appointing Bischoff and Heyman into the roles that they're in. So it's really, really excited about it, guys. And you know what? I'm going to be with the show the whole night. I'm going to be listening. I'm excited to hear Big Daddy P. I'm even more excited to hear Joe Lance. Joe Lance, at the start of the show, you shorted yourself. Don't you ever dare short yourself, my friend. If it wasn't for you, man, Wrestle Talk wouldn't be half of what it is. And that's not to short Renee out.
Facts.
There. I'm glad that you get your 25, 30 minutes to shine, and it's much deserved and well deserved, my friend. I've been super proud of you. Even though you're not in Kansas City, I'm always watching out for you, Joe. And you've been killing it in the wrestling scene, brother. And I'm super proud to call you one of my friends.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And all I got to say is, go Raiders.
Oh, shut your mouth. Damn it. You know, Jonesy, the one time we want to give you a platform and put you over, you want to go ahead and ruin it, man. What the hell is wrong with you?
I can't help it that I like the Raiders.
I know, man. It's a disability you were born with. Well, listen, guys, we're about 10 minutes away. Yeah. we're about 10 minutes away from bringing on Big Daddy P, but we promised we'd have multiple callers on. Guys, the free Journey Pro ticket is still on the line. All you got to do is call in, give us the correct answer to the question, and the question is, if Jeremy Wyatt successfully defends the Gateway Heritage Championship tomorrow night at Journey Pro, how many successful title defenses will he have under his belt? All you got to do is dial that number. Once again, that's 657-383-1521. You can use that to hit us up during high spots, but you can also use that number to call in and give us the answer. And boom, you're going to Journey Pro tomorrow night, man. Can't really beat that. Now, Jonesy, I do believe we have another caller. I believe all the way from our friends up north, the great country of Canada is being represented tonight during the Wrestle Talk podcast. Why don't we go ahead and bring that caller on?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to a man that I know as the Heel Deal Boom.
Boom, baby.
What's going on, sir?
Hey, guys.
Oh, Canada, la da 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 la da da da. Okay, we're losing listeners by the second. Let me stop singing. What up, Daniel?
I think I want the best version.
Yeah, go ahead. You sing it for us, bro. You got this.
No. I can't top your version. I was okay.
Wow, I couldn't imagine there was anybody out there worse than me. If you're worse than me, then yeah, we're probably better off not having you sing.
Yeah, no, we're probably better off.
No doubt about it. Well, Heel Deal, you hear what we're talking about. We talked a little Brock Lesnar. We talked a little Kevin Owens. Talked a little Evolve, man. But the High Spot segment is about what you want to talk about, bro. Anything in the world of pro wrestling, you either want to ask us a question, make a statement, or just have a general conversation, bro. This is the time to do it, man. What do you got?
Well, I would just say, I guess in your guys' opinions, what kind of storylines should they start? Like, what storylines would you go to change the program? Like, I think you need that balance. Obviously,
I think some of us older fans want something more edgier, but at the same time, I don't think they want to lose the younger demographic. But I don't know if you can't. Maybe they have to make a choice.
Well, let me ask you something, Heel Deal. Let me ask you, because we're talking about what they either need to do. Intern Tim, we got more callers, baby. I need to make sure I know who's on the board. Let me know. So let me ask you this: you saw the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, right, Heel Deal?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question that I'm sure there's many other podcasts that they're going to be discussing this. What did you think about the Lacey Evans close-up? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, of her ring gear?
Yes, where she was walking into the ring and she kind of pulled a Rick Rude, and I think she had Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins' initials on her trunks, and the cameraman, let's just say he positioned himself in a prime spot to get a very up-close and detailed shot of the very beautiful and talented Lacey Evans' hindquarters. At the moment, it was just me and my son watching, thankfully, because if my wife had been watching, I probably would have got a little bit of heat. But, bro, is that the kind of stuff that the fans need and want? Risk. What do you think, man, as a guy that's been watching for many years?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to either go in all in or not. Like, you know,
was that a pun?
They obviously
was that a pun?
I think so. I think unintentionally, but I think they have to go all in because AEW is going all in. And I mean, I think it's desperate times call for desperate measures. I think for so many years they didn't have any competition, and they figured, well, you know, we can kind of play to these sponsors, these kids, these, you know, this and that. But now, you know, there's no one else is watching, and now it's like, I think, you know, they know they did something that worked before, and now they're trying to go back to that because of a decrease in attendance and a decrease in ratings, and no one's talking about the WWE like they were in the Attitude Era. So, I mean, I guess you got to pick your poison and weigh the options, but I don't know. I don't know if you risk losing one fan base to gain another, or are they just going to be in the same spot, the same numbers, the same attendance, but now with people who are enjoying an edgier product instead of a family-friendly one?
Very, very insightful thoughts there from the Heel Deal. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to let you know, and Heel Deal, hang tight because I want you to hear my perspective. We got Big Daddy P joining us in a little bit over 5 minutes. Hang tight. Big Daddy P will be joining us, man. We're going to be talking about Blue Sky Wrestling, the Masked Saint, maybe the Masked Saint 2, a bunch of great stuff with Big Daddy P. But Heel Deal, here's what I want you to hear, and I know you're still listening on hold there. Here is my contention, and Jonesy, you can totally shut me down. We're also gonna jump to Bishop and Tank here in just a moment as well, so I'll keep it brief. I contend that WWE is not contending. Okay, that's redundant. They're not even in the slightest concern with what AEW is doing. And I will say this: WWE is so much bigger. I'm not saying they're not watching, Jonesy. I wouldn't make that assertion. I know they're watching. But, dude, they are in a world that they're competing with Major League Baseball. They're competing with the NFL. They're competing with the NBA. They're not overly concerned about some upstart AEW company, regardless of how rich the owner is. That's not what their concern is. So they may be watching what's going on, but if they're getting edgier, it has less to do with AEW and more to do with society today. And as a Christian man, it's a little disheartening to see how far off the rails we've gone, but everything today is edgy, from kids' cartoons to the music and so on and so forth. In order to stay relevant with that demographic, the 18 to 34 or 14 to 30, whatever it is that you want to call that demographic, you have to be edgier. And it's a little unfortunate because, you know, there's a huge lack of wholesome entertainment these days. I mean, even in like Disney movies, they're putting a bunch of stuff that's super questionable. Okay. But that's what they're competing with. I don't think a whole lot of this has to do with AEW at all. It's just, if you turn on any TV show, any movie, it's violence, sexuality. That's what's selling these days, Jonesy. Shit, it's what's always sold. So I don't think their situation has that much to do with AEW. I think it has more to do with some of those other entities that they're a lot more in the same ballpark as, because they are competing with Disney, NFL, NBA, whatever it is that you're watching on Monday and Tuesday night. That's what they're competing with, not with an upstart company that really, at this point, they've got some great momentum, but longevity is key in any business. And at this point, they've only had 3 shows. So that said, I want to get the opinion of my buddy Bishop, because he's been on hold since the very beginning. I'm sure we'll hear from him a little bit later in the show as well during the FWWC. But let's go ahead and bring him on, because he's always got some great thoughts. Intern Timmy, do me a favor, and let's go ahead and bring on the Bishop.
Bishop, what's going on, show? You alive?
Jonesy, Night Owl, how's everyone? I think that the WWE, they, in a way, they kind of feel pressured to go back to like the late 90s and 2000s, because it's like you mentioned, Renee, you said that times are changing, and everything now, is violence or sex. And so with AEW being an upstart company, I don't really think they feel as threatened by them, because really, WWE is more entertainment, but I think that they feel like they have to go back to that area, back to what they used to do, with the swearing and the middle fingers and everything. But at some point, they may, if they go back to that too much, they may lose the demographic. They may lose the younger children that watches that product.
Well, Jonesy, I want you to jump in here. I want you to jump in here, Jonesy. But Bishop, I have a question for you, because I know you at least a little bit, Bishop, and I know that you're not the kind of guy that's a huge fan of some of that stuff. So when you see the camera angle on Lacey Evans, when you see the top babyface in the company, Kofi Kingston, sticking up his middle finger at somebody, is that the kind of stuff that if they continue to move in that direction, is that going to turn you off to the product? I'm curious to hear a man with your perspective.
It won't really turn me off. Like it'll be a little more interesting, because it's what you and I, grew up watching. We remember watching Stone Cold flip off Vince McMahon or crack open beer cans. But, with the way things are nowadays, some parents are looking for wholesome entertainment, and they look to WWE, and they may lose that demographic. They may lose the younger people that watch WWE, like John Cena, the baby, or whatnot.
I think that's a great point. No, that's a great point. Jonesy, did you have any rebuttal or any questions for Bishop before we move on to Tank? And then, of course, our featured guest, Big Daddy P.
I mean, I totally agree with you guys, but sticking up the middle finger, that's something that I learned about when I was in elementary school. So that's really nothing that kids haven't seen before, and so it's just to me, I like the directions that they're going, but for somebody that has kids, I can kind of see where they wouldn't like that direction as well. So I don't have an issue with it, but I can see how somebody could have an issue with it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Jonesy, I appreciate that perspective. Bishop, any final thoughts before we let you go, man?
Hey, just keep doing your thing, and I really enjoy what you're all doing here, and hopefully we'll see some changes, maybe in the direction that we're used to seeing from WWE, the WWE that we grew up watching. And so far they seem to be going in a good direction with Bischoff and Paul Heyman in charge. So that's my thing.
No doubt about it. Well, Bishop, thank you very much for being here. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm sorry. Tank, we're going to go ahead and give you your time to talk wrestling and FWWC here in just a matter of minutes when we get into the FWWC. Promise to give you double time then. But because our featured guest is in the bullpen and ready to come in, we're going to go ahead and transition to our first featured interview segment. So, Tank, don't go anywhere. Hang tight. I promise we're going to give you some extra time after the break. That said, Jonesy, I know we've both been looking at forward to this interview for a long time. So why don't you go ahead and do the honors and make the introduction?
Oh my goodness, I get to do the introduction. All right, hopefully I can do it as good as the Night Owl can. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is somebody that is definitely not a stranger to the Wrestle Talk podcast. We are talking about one Big Daddy P. This gentleman came onto the podcast one time, and since then, he has been a staple of the Wrestle Talk podcast. You know, no other podcast has a Snippets of Truth, which is, you know, a prayer segment. And we decided that we wanted to do this prayer segment. We didn't know if it was going to work or not, and it completely worked. And it has been absolutely amazing. This gentleman is such a awesome person to talk to. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let me bring on to you Big Daddy P.
I gotta do what I gotta do. So who the hell is you? You tell me how my song is wrong, you don't know. Lay out and let the daddy go. You think my reps about stealing, but it's about feeling. Sometimes truth revealing, but you know how I flow in the proper review. I gotta do what I gotta do.
Big Daddy P, what is going on, sir?
What is going on, my friends? How y'all doing tonight?
What's up,
We are
brother?
doing wonderful.
Well, listen, first of all, it is an honor. It's a privilege to be on your show. I don't take it lightly. Matter of fact, this morning when I first got up, I put give me the words of what it is that you want to say, because that's the only thing that matters. So I knew coming in that God was going to move, but I didn't know in which way. But he already knew the questions you were going to ask. So go ahead, ask away, and let's do it.
Jonesy, why don't you go ahead and lead it off, brother? What do you got?
Absolutely. So, Big Daddy P, since the last time you've been a guest on the Wrestle Talk podcast, you've been involved in professional wrestling. Can you tell us about how you've gotten involved in professional wrestling?
Well, first of all, it's by God's grace. He knew before I was even going to get involved that he was going to use me. I was at for my business, Tanner Stream Productions, which is website design, audio, video production. And I was at the show, and towards the last day, a gentleman was staring at my booth for about 20 minutes. Come to find out, it was Gary and Wanda Grandstaff of Rich Rock Entertainment. They were looking for a web guy to come on board and help their company. I did, came aboard, and then they introduced me. They told me they were making a movie called The Masked Saint, which was Roddy Piper's last film, that they needed someone to help with social media and marketing. And so I began to sit in meetings, and I had an idea that God gave me to give to them, which was to go grassroots. I said, I think we need to go to the independent wrestling circuit because they're fans of Piper. And so again, a divine appointment happened, and a wrestler walked into a pawn shop that my former wife was working for. His name was Monster Jernigan. She got his phone number. I called him. He invited me to watch wrestling. I met the owner, and the owner said to me, man, you got a great voice. He said, I would like to be general manager of Tennessee All Pro Wrestling. I said, what? He said, I'll train you. Don't worry about it. Everything you need to know. So that's kind of how I got in wrestling. And then as we began to proceed in the Masked Saint, I began to meet some other well-known people who was heavily into wrestling, Jeff Jarrett, different guys. And so then Tennessee All Pro Wrestling as the GM. There were some other wrestlers that were part of other promotions, Money Mark Promotions, which had Kevin Hall, Scott Nash, and Mick Foley, and over at the fairgrounds in Nashville. So they wanted me to be a ring announcer for them. So I became a ring announcer, and I was still general manager of Tennessee All Pro Wrestling. And then I kind of got out of wrestling for a little bit because the movie was over, Mass Fate was finished. I was still a part of TAC, but God began to move me out. And then about 6 months ago, someone came to me, the Bogle brothers, and they wanted to have they wanted to put on a wrestling show, and they knew that I was able to help them make it happen. And if anybody who knows me, you know I'm purpose driven. I don't do things for myself. It's all about serving others. And so I saw an opportunity, and of course, by the time they got the money and everything, I had 6 days to plan a show. And as you guys know, that's not a lot of time. But fortunately, we had a great turnout. It was for Blue Sky Wrestling, which I'm the general manager for them now. And in fact, we've got a show coming up August 25th, back at the same place. We should have 3 or 4 times what we had, only because the amount of time and the people who were involved. I can't name names, but one's a huge wrestler, very well known, just was inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. And then I have a singer who is about to be nominated for a Grammy, who's going to sing the national anthem and do a mini concert in intermission. So that's right, music and wrestling is back, and we're going to start this trend in Tennessee, and that's pretty much. But again, I can't take the credit for any of this, guys. God has ordained the steps. I mean, He knew that He was going to do this. He knew the people that were going to need prayer. He knew the people that were going to need someone to stand by their side and be an encouragement to them. And as you know, that's what I do. So that's pretty much how we got into it. I do have to mention there is discussions about Mass Paint 2. There is talks about it. And a couple of seeds have been already kind of revealed on Facebook. But it's really going to come down to negotiations, because one side wants to do it without the lineup that was used before, which was a very strong lineup. And so that's going to be kind of the deciding factor. And you can only do the right thing once. So if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And I know Ridgewalk won't do it if it's not right. So that's kind of where that ball is lying. But I assure you that if and when there is a Mass Saint 2, we will be back on regular circulation to help promote it and to continue to help this industry. There's nothing like wrestling fans. There's nothing. No fans in the world like wrestling fans. That's why I love Wrestle Talk. That's why I love wrestling, because they're committed, they're dedicated, they love it, they enjoy it. Everybody knows it's fixed. I didn't say fake, because it is far from fake. Physically, it's one of the most demanding jobs I've ever seen. But everyone knows it. And the problem is that when you make it look fake and you treat it like you disrespect it with stupid things, that's the problem that I have. I loved your conversation that you guys had earlier about AEW and WWE. And obviously, Vince really hasn't had competition, but he does now. And just to give my 2 cents, I personally don't. I don't care about the finger up. I don't think that. Again, I grew up in the Attitude Era, so I'm used to it. They did have to go PG, but they learned that PG is great, and the stockholders want to make money. But if you're going to lose money because you're not following a trend, then it's a problem. And I think Vince said, "Look, if y'all don't loosen up and let us do what we need to do, we're not going to have wrestling." And I think that's why the change is taking place. And I thought Raw was amazing. I thought Extreme Rules was one of the best. I mean, how do you start off with that match, man? Powerful. So anyway, very, very pleased with WWE. Love AEW. Love all these promotions. I mean, independent wrestling is going to become more popular now than ever. You'll begin to see it in attendances. I'm seeing it now in flyers all over Facebook. Is it my imagination, or is there more wrestling shows than we've ever seen?
Well, you know what, Jonesy, I couldn't agree more. And I'm going to jump in here real quick. And I know you've got a few other questions you want to fire off, Jonesy. I'll let you go ahead and take care of that business we talked about. But Big Daddy P, you know, our history is not what it appears to be. A lot of people who listen to the show know that you come on and you do snippets of truth and you do a prayer segment, which in some cases has turned some people off, and that's totally understandable, right? And sometimes the prayer segment turns people off, but you have a calling, and you said it before. When you do something, it's always purpose driven, and I admire that about you. And I've had people within the professional wrestling business say, hey, you know what, Renee, like, we don't know if you're gaining more listeners because of it or losing more listeners because of it. It's kind of an edgy thing to do. And I've always said to myself, look, Snippets of Truth is something that we only do for a couple of minutes a show. Sometimes it's only about 30 seconds, but you, forgive the pun, but like have religiously been committed to it, even though it's such a minute thing. And I think based on some of the prayer requests that we've gotten in the past and stuff like that, I think it's making or has made a significant impact. So I'm curious, has your faith, you being a Christian, you being a minister, a chaplain, has that ever created any friction for you within the professional wrestling business?
Of course it has, because again, I'm not normal and they know it, but I don't care about that. You know what I care about is the one instance, the one situation with the one person that says, hey, I hate to bother you, but I'm going through some stuff right now and I just don't know what to do. That's what I care about, Renee. I'm not here to be popular, because when it's all said and done, and we're all going to stand before God, and when we do, I want to hear, well done and good and faithful servant. I don't care what you think about me. I really don't. Yes, I want to be liked. Yes, I want to be loved. We all want to be loved. But in the end, I wake up and I go to sleep with one purpose, and that is to serve him. Not because of money, not because of any reason, but because of what he did for me. I mean, people don't realize it is not about a religion. It's about a relationship. It's about being able to rely on someone, because this world is filled with a bunch of snakes and people who will stab you in the back. And God promised that he would never leave me. And I have put him to the test time after time after time. And I told him when I first was introduced to him, I said, look, if you're real, you better be real, because I'm not playing. I don't have time to play. And he has, without a doubt, loved me and cared for me and provided for me in every way I could have dreamed of. And that is available to anybody. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take work. It doesn't take anything, but give him a chance. And I think if you do, you will find that he is faithful and he is the only one you can truly count on. And when I learned that, Renee, that's when I decided that I didn't care what other people thought, but what I do care about is what they think of him. And the only way they might know him is me. They might know Matthew, they might know Mark, they might know Luke, and they might know John, but there's a fifth gospel, and that gospel is us. And people read us every single day. The question is, what do they read?
Wow, that's incredible. Well, Jonesy, I'm going to have you jump in here, man. I just had that question on my heart, and I wanted to make sure that I asked Big Daddy P, because I know Blue Sky Wrestling is on fire, baby, and I know you've been excited, Jonesy. I know you've been keeping tabs on social media. So why don't you jump on in here with your next question for Big Daddy P?
Oh, absolutely. So my next question is this. Big Daddy P, when we brought you on for the Snippets of Truth, for the prayer segment, did you know that it was going to be as big as what it has became so? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, because everything God does is big. He doesn't do it small. He's not going to. God will never take you to a place where his grace won't protect you. Never forget that. He will never put you in a situation. He says, my word will never return void. It always goes out in a manner in which I sent it. If he sends us on a journey, he's sending us on a journey because somebody's going to be touched. It even could be you. It might not be you. Think about it. In ministry circles, if you went and did a big tent revival and only 3 got saved, Paul would call that, or people would call that a failure. But look at the Apostle Paul. He had situations where only 3 people got saved, and it made it in the Bible. So it isn't the number, but the growth within the number.
Wow,
absolutely.
That's incredible, Joe. Joe, do me a favor, tap enter to me on the shoulder. We're still having audio issues with Big Daddy P. It's just the volume is not there. So let's go ahead and get that queued up real quick. While we do that, let me just take a second to thank all the wonderful sponsors of the Wrestle Talk podcast, KCK Dental Pros, the Conspiracy Farm, Everything Combat, MarkMarrow.com, obviously the wonderful people over at the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter, our friends over at Journey Pro, not really sponsors, but huge supporters, our friends over at XWE, our friends over at the Extreme Wrestling Center. We have a lot of people that support the Wrestle Talk podcast, and none of this would be possible without them. But really, the main supporters of the Wrestle Talk podcast are you, the Wrestle Talk family. So if you want to continue to support the Wrestle Talk podcast and help build up the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, the FWWC, we encourage for you to make your way over to WrestleTalkPodcast.com, which, by the way, is hosted by Painter's Dream Production. We're going to get to that in just a second with Big Daddy P, but that's WrestleTalkPodcast.com/merch booth. That's, again, WrestleTalkPodcast.com/merch booth to get your very own Wrestle Talk Podcast mug for $15 plus shipping. And if you want to have it customized, like the one you're seeing here, if you're watching on YouTube, we can have it customized for you for an additional $5 plus shipping. Great deal. They last a lifetime as long as you take care of them. And they are bar quality mugs, ladies and gentlemen, not that thin glass that you buy at Walmart. So again, WrestleTalkPodcast.com/merch booth. Jonesy, why don't you jump back in here with Big Daddy P?
Absolutely. So I guess in my last question, if I throw it back to Renee, because I know he has a bunch of more questions, is what are your thoughts about Brock Lesnar once again being the Universal Champion?
I guess he didn't make it in UFC. I guess they decided that to proceed with a contract. Listen, he puts butts in seats, guys. I mean, you can't. Yes, am I tired of him? Absolutely. Can he be beaten by being hit in the nuts? Absolutely. So he is defeatable. And by the way, in regards to my audio, just so you know, I'm still recording my side. So I'm going to make a recording of this available. So if anybody did miss something or wanted to hear it, I will send it to you guys. But in the end, it is best for business. I'm actually shocked that Braun Strowman is not going to. I'm very surprised about that.
Well, Big Daddy Pete, you know what? I think we all kind of feel the same way. I know there's a lot of people that are upset that Brock Lesnar is once again the champion. The way I look at it is, if you want people, the mainstream, to be interested in the product, you're going to have to put somebody out there that they recognize. And much to my surprise, and I know this is the thing that Jonesy is always complaining about, this is Jonesy, these are your words. I wouldn't be as upset about Brock Lesnar being champion if he showed up. And recently he's been showing up. So much credit to him for showing up on a regular basis, even though he's not wrestling. And I'll tell you what, just based on some of the video I saw, fan video that I saw of the cash-in, really excited about it. So as much as people love to say that he's bad for business, I think at the end of the day, as long as he continues to show up on a fairly regular basis, he's going to be good for business, especially if Paul Heyman is with him, because we know that Paul Heyman is always good for business. That said, Big Daddy P, I want to jump over to something else, and I know we alluded to it a little bit earlier. Painter's Dream Production and the relationship that you have with various wrestlers, wrestling companies, and the Wrestle Talk podcast. You're the one that helped make the website possible. Tell us a little bit about kind of what goes into that and how it is that you provide services to professional wrestlers, companies, and even podcasts in this case.
In 1988, before my dad passed away of Parkinson's, he was a painter in the 60s, and because he had Parkinson's, which is a nerve disorder that causes you to shake real bad, what he said to me before he died, he said, "Son, when you're done being a rock star, get into those things called computers." And what was amazing about his revelation was that he knew that someday I got saved the same year. And it was within that period of time that I started building websites because I saw that people were getting ripped off. I saw that they weren't finishing the work, that the work was junk. And I had the gift and I had the talent that God gave me. And I decided, okay, fine, I'm going to do this part-time. Maybe I can make some money. Well, it paid off. And then in 2014, I decided to take a leap of faith. I made more money in my business in a week than I did working somewhere in a month. And I went full-time. And we're looking at about 2014, 2019, 5 years now. I've gone full-time. And it's all about taking people to the next level, whether it's their corporate clients who already have a site or someone that doesn't even have one. I built the business around that. My pricing is unbelievably affordable. I'm a fourth of the cost of everybody else. I get it done 3 times as fast. And that's kind of the passion of why I do it. It's all about being affordable, effective, reliable, and proven. And those are the things that God has given me the opportunity to be able to help. And Wrestle Talk is just one of them. I mean, I've worked on some pretty projects that some would not be considered financially feasible. But again, it isn't about the money. It's about the opportunity. I've got one client that the first website I ever did for him was a one-pager. Cost, $125. That included hosting. I did it for nothing. And he gave me 9 clients after that. So again, it's just about opportunity with social media marketing and audio video production, which I've been doing for 13, 14, or 15 years. Now it finally is to a point where it's all in one arena. So really, the business has been able to succeed because of all the pieces of the puzzle that God has dropped in my lap up to this point. And by the way, based upon Brock Lesnar, you can't fault the guy for saying, if you want me, here's my contract, here's the rules. And they said, okay. So, his contract is his contract. You can't fault the man for getting the highest dollar and for wrestling the least. It's brilliant business. Where's John Cena? Part of his contract. But you got a lot of the younger guys like Kofi, who's been beaten by everyone, and now he's a champ, and no one can beat him. Come on. But anyways, we don't have to go there.
That's a great point. Just real quick, Big Daddy P, Jonesy, I'm excited because of everything that Big Daddy P's got going on. I mean, you think about it, he's doing the website hosting, right? He's doing what he does in ministry, and he's also working for Blue Sky Wrestling. And that's really the next thing that I want to get into, because quite frankly, it's not every day that you get an opportunity to talk to somebody who has
not available. At the tone, please record.
Apologize for that, guys. It's not every day that you get an opportunity to talk to somebody that has his hands in so many different aspects of the pro wrestling business. So, Big Daddy P, let me ask you about that. Blue Sky Wrestling, you went from Tennessee All Pro Wrestling to Blue Sky Wrestling. You kicked off your first show just a couple of weeks ago. From what I hear, was wildly successful. You had Crocodile Bill Dundee, who's a recent guest of the show, and a few other legends and a bunch of up-and-coming superstars that were also in attendance. Tell us about how you made your way over to Blue Sky, kind of what your involvement is and what we can expect moving forward from Blue Sky Wrestling down in Tennessee.
Well, Blue Sky Wrestling is actually the first show I've ever ran on my own, basically. By myself. It takes an amazing team, and God brought some incredible people together. People at the last minute who really stepped up and did a wonderful job. I mean, Blue Sky Wrestling was just an idea. The 2 guys who wanted to have a show in Woodbury, Tennessee. They tried for 10 years, couldn't do it. God
Technical difficulties, my YouTube fam. Hang tight.
Welcome to Blog Talk. Please hold and you'll be able to listen to the show.
Because this was my first show. I had 6 days to pull it off. And to pull it off with a ring and everything, and marketing, I mean, flyers.
Unmuted.
You guys know how it works. It a lot of pieces, but in the end, Blue Sky Wrestling is a brand new promotion. It is kicking off. Our second show is going to be amazing. It's going to be probably 3 times what we had last one, and the one after that is going to be even bigger, only because, again, the budget's getting bigger. We have our first sponsor, our first big sponsor. Let me just say, we have 4 or 5 small sponsors, but this is a big one, and he really believes in what we're doing, and that makes the world a difference. So blueskywrestling.com, check it out, and of course it's on Facebook, but there's 2 Facebook pages because Facebook messed up my Facebook, and I lost access to the first one.
Okay, and I think, Jonesy, I don't know about you, but I pretty much completely lost audio on Big Daddy P. Could you hear much of what he was saying there towards the end?
Somewhat, yeah. The audio's really been crazy. It's been, yeah.
Yeah, so Big Daddy P, we want to go ahead and give you the appropriate amount of time. So do us a favor, hang up, call back. We'll try to bring you back on and wrap up the conversation. But yeah, it's very, very poor. Some of the listeners are providing feedback and letting us know that they can hardly hear anything you're saying. And there's just a lot of great information that you're divulging. I know Blue Sky Wrestling is doing some big things. Now, what's crazy, Jonesy, is from what I understand, they had a great attendance at their first show. And Big Daddy P is saying that this upcoming show could potentially be 3 times bigger. So what does that mean? Does that mean 900 people instead of 300 people? I don't know. But just based on the amount of people that they did have at that first show, I would assess that they're going to do, 500, 600 people. I do believe we have Big Daddy P back on the line, and we want to make sure we give him the time that he rightfully deserves. Big Daddy P, are you with us?
I am. I'm here.
Awesome. Okay. Again, not sure what's going on with the audio. We just want to make sure that everybody could hear you. So going back to the Blue Sky conversation, I did hear you say that you're expecting the upcoming show to potentially be 3 times bigger than the first. What does that mean as far as attendance goes, and who are you planning on bringing in?
Well, here's the thing, and again, I'm sorry about the audio. I'm using an iPhone. That's why I won't go to the dark side. I use an Android. So maybe we can reschedule the interview again while I use my phone, but my phone's not available today. But anyway, Blue Sky Wrestling, I had 6 days to prepare, and I had 100 people, okay? And in Woodbury, Tennessee, which has a population of maybe 3,000, I was very pleased with the outcome, but because I have Cody McCarver, who is a national recording artist, coming to do the national anthem, and because I have a big, huge name that's going to be coming, I can't name the name yet because we're trying to deal with contract details, but I am anticipating, again, I've got more than 6 days to prepare, so I'm looking for at least 300-400 at this next one, and then the one after that, I expect it even bigger because I have a national recording artist, a very, and I mean well-known singer-songwriter who's going to be playing a concert. They'll do the national anthem, they'll do an intermission, and then after the show is over, they'll do a full concert. So the goal is about putting butts in seats and about entertaining, and that's exactly what Blue Sky is all about. But the wrestling is great, and I got so many compliments on our first card. It was unbelievable. But this next card is even better because, again, the budget's a little bit more, and we're able to spend a little bit more on talent. I love the indie guys. They're good. We gave some new guys an opportunity to show themselves, which was really, you know me, Renee. It's what it's all about. I mean, we have 3 or 4 guys that really haven't even wrestled before who were able to come and be introduced. One of the future segments of Blue Sky Wrestling's promotion is to promote future independent talent, whether they want to be a manager, they want to be a wrestler, whatever it might be. Blue Sky will give them that opportunity.
Wow, that's absolutely.
And I do have an audio recording. Hey, I do have an audio recording of this on my end. I don't know how it's going to come out yet, but rest assured, I did record it. So when it's done, I'll be editing it with yours so I can get your side and then my side, and then we can post that for the guys that missed it. I apologize, but
no, it's okay. No worries. And you know what? You're actually coming through a little bit better right now. Jonesy, any final thoughts or questions for Big Daddy P before we go to break and come back with the FWWC, man? What do you got in mind?
Oh, just thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you for everything you've done for the podcast. Thank you for the, for everything. So you've been a incredible help, and we enjoy having you around, sir.
And guys, remember one thing, please. I didn't write the words, "Come to me who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." If you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, give God a chance. He knows your situation. Trust in him today. If you don't know who he is, if you have no clue, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about a one-on-one relationship. If you have not heard what God did for you, even before you were born, he knew you. Okay? And it isn't your fault that Adam and Eve did what they did. But the fact remains is we were born into it. And he has the solution for it. And the only thing you have to do for that solution is to give him a hearing. Listen to what he did for you. He died for you, sent himself in the form of flesh on this earth to come and be on this earth for 33 years. He endured suffering like we could never even imagine. And he did it for us. He had us in mind when he did that, because he knew that he could be the only one to solve the problem. And when you hear what he did, when you utilize faith, a small, we're talking a mustard seed size of faith, of belief. Mustard seed, that's all that it takes to have a relationship with him. And if you apply that mustard seed of faith, of belief, the Bible says you will have eternal life with him. And that, my friends, is what this is all about. I love talking about wrestling. I love talking about all the things that God has done in my life. But nothing gets me more excited than the good news. If somebody says to you, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this to be saved, if it's anything but belief, it is not the Bible. That's why it's called the good news. The good news is you don't have to do anything for it. He did it already. That's why he says it is finished. And my friends, that's what it's all about. So if you are listening to this, if you're without hope, if you're without Christ, if you don't have eternal life, if you don't have anything of what I'm talking about, I assure you, if you have even applied just a little bit of faith, buckle up and hold on, because for the rest of your life, you'll never have to worry again.
Well, no doubt about it. And Jonesy, I'm going to jump in here and say this. Big Daddy P, we would be remiss if we allowed you to leave to do what you're the very best at, and that's hit us with a few snippets of truth, in addition to what you've already said. And I have a very I love it, dude. You're dropping knowledge seeds. I just hope the Wrestle Talk fam is picking them up. So two things. One, I want you to pray for me. I had a little bit of a rough day. Got into it with a very dear friend of mine today regarding some pro wrestling business. I'm not sure who was right and who was wrong, but I know that anger took over, and neither one of us handled that the way that we should have. I'm going to be issuing a personal apology here in just a matter of moments, but I want you to pray for me, because it's been a rough go, at least these last 24 hours, especially because we've lost today a dear friend in the pro wrestling community, a former guest of the Wrestle Talk podcast, well known for his run over at Dynamo Pro Wrestling. I've been with a heavy heart all day, so if I snapped on anybody maybe more than normal, I apologize to you, and I'm very susceptible because I am a human being and I am weak. So allow me to share this with everybody, and then we'll go ahead and let you jump in, Big Daddy P, and do this. It says, this is a post from Dynamo Pro. It's a post from Dynamo Pro Wrestling. It says, it's with a heavy heart that we inform the Dynamo Pro fans of the recent passing of former Dynamo Pro Tag Team Champion Keon Option. That's the valedictorian Keon Option. Please keep his friends and family in your thoughts and prayers as they mourn the loss of a loved one. So, valedictorian Keon Option, we love you, we miss you, and we pray that you acknowledge Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, because if you did, then this is just phase 2 of your existence, my friend. Those prayer requests on my end. Jonesy, if you have anything, go ahead and fire away so we can get Big Daddy P to do what he came here to do, baby.
I don't really have anything tonight, actually. Everything's going pretty good.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's worthy. That's enough to pray about. Hey, you can pray about how grateful you are about how everything is going great, right, Big Daddy P?
That's called attitude of gratitude, my friend. And listen, Renee, you know, he doesn't seek perfection. He is perfection. He just seeks obedience. You have got such a humble spirit about you. And everyone. I as well have had a pretty rough day these last couple of days. But you want to know something, man? He is forgiving. And the fact remains, he wrote the words in 1 John 1:9. If we acknowledge our sins to him, he is faithful and just to forgive us and cleanse us of all unrighteousness. That means that we have the ability to say, God, I made a mistake, and he'll forgive you, and he'll forget about it. The problem is, a lot of preachers will say, oh, just ask for forgiveness, but you never acknowledge what it is that you did. David acknowledged what he did wrong. Okay? Saul acknowledged what he did wrong. See, that's what it's all about. And so rest assured that after I get done praying, just know that God has heard everything you said, man. And for those that you might have offended or those that you might have reacted on, they know you. And if they don't know you, they're going to get to know you because they're going to learn that even in your failures, even in your mistakes, you're humble enough to acknowledge your mistakes to them. And the only reason why you know that is because of the forgiveness that you've already received. And that's why you have the ability to do that, Renee. So don't beat yourself up too bad. And the good news is without a doubt, he knows the situation. He knows the past. He knows the future. So all we have to do is just continue to trust him. He says the two greatest commandments are to love me and to love my people. So if we can get those two right out of the 2,200 commandments that exist in the Bible. What? There's 2,200? That's a whole other story in itself. There's a lot more than 10, folks. But anyway, the fact remains is that we have the ability to love one another today. There's enough hatred in the world. There's enough racism, bigotry, politics, junk, blah, 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 blah. I want to be different because I don't want to be like anybody else. The only way I can put my head on my pillow every night is to try and love the people that are around me. And it's hard because this world is filled with people who I just want to bitch slap. You know what I'm saying? But I can't. I can't because I got to forgive them because they don't know. They don't realize because they've been raised up in abuse or whatever they've been raised up in. That's the way they are. I've got to have compassion. I have to understand that they don't realize what they're doing. You know what I mean? And I say that with all love. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the fact remains that sometimes you want to choke somebody. And I think the difference between what you think you want to do and what you do are two different things. A wise man once told me, what's the difference between reacting and responding?
Responding has some thinking behind it. Reacting is just all emotional, right? Like, is that right?
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
5
I like that.
And instead of reacting, respond. And when you respond, as angry as you might be, you have to recognize that they just don't understand the way they're acting. They don't. And if they do, and they continue to do it, God will take care of them. You don't have to. He said, vengeance is mine, thus says the Lord. He's got it. He's got a much bigger stick to beat us with than we do. And he's much better at it. So I just leave it up to him. My favorite scripture, Renee, is 1 Thessalonians 4:11. It says, make it your ambition to live a quiet life, mind your own business, and work with your hands as we've commanded you. So that's what I do.
Wow, Big Daddy P. Well, why don't you go ahead and take it away, man? Let's close this out. Doing what you do best, man. Dropping those snippets of truth, Big Daddy P. Do your thing.
Father God, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about your goodness, talk about your love. I pray, Father, that there is just one that the meeting's going to hold today, one who did hear properly. Maybe there'll be 20 people tomorrow who will hear the report. Father, you know everything. I don't care if just one person heard it. It's never about that. It's just about trying to represent you in a world filled with hurt and anger. Father, I just pray that you continue to touch these boys
with Wrestle Talk. Continue to open every door that needs to be open, close every door that needs to be closed. And I also just ask that you continue to cover Renee with all the protection that you do. We know that there is never a place we can go to leave. You are everywhere. With the comfort that you continue to store this relationship that you put back together. And Father, I just thank you so much for who you are. Without you, we can. I just thank you so much, and I love you. Thank you for the right. Name I pray.
Amen and amen. Well, Jonesy, you heard what Big Daddy P had to say, man. You got any final thoughts for him before we let him go?
Like I said, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you for everything that you have done, sir.
Yeah, and thank you for everything that you continue to do for the website, Perry. Honestly, I don't know how many podcasts out there actually have their own website. I think ours is awesome. There's definitely some features that I would love to add. So let's go ahead and have a conversation about that, because I'd love to see, every time we post something on Twitter, like if it's right there on the page so people can see our Twitter feed. I'd love to see that. I'd love to have people be able to sign up for our mailing list so that they get the press release and the posters sent directly to their email address. 1 email a week, guys. No spam. We want to do all that. And you know who's going to make it happen? Big Daddy P of Painter's Dream Productions. Perry, thank you for being here, big bro. We love you so much, man. God bless you.
I love you guys. Thank you again for the opportunity.
No problem. We'll talk to you again down the road. Woo! Snippets of Truth, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that did not go exactly how we had planned, but we fought through it. And for those of you guys who were able to hear everything, I know every single snippet of truth will serve you well moving into the future. Jonesy, we got to go to break here for about 2 minutes. We're going to do a little bit of an extended FWWC segment. We're going to give them their full 15 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and close out with the interview with my favorite guest of all time, the one, the only referee, podcast host extraordinaire, Nightmare Jones, a.k.a. Joe Lance. So FWWC, this is the time. Go ahead and dial that number. Again, it's 657-383-1521. That's, again, 657-383-1521. We're going to be back after about a minute and a half as we go to break, and we encourage you during that break to visit WrestleTalkPodcast.com, the merch booth, to go ahead and start customizing your very own Wrestle Talk Podcast mug. We'll catch you guys in a minute and 30 seconds with the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, the FWWC.
Yo, what up? Night Owl. Nightmare Jones. What up, Wrestle Talk fam? Do it for y'all. Check me out. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Even them haters can't hate us no more. To unlock your door, cause we got some more. Every Wednesday we here, keeping it raw. Night Owl, Nightmare Jones, and all the best jets. Like a double barrel pointed right at your chest. Wrestle Talk Podcast.com. Smashing and killing it like a night at a prom.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are back. It is now time for the FWWC segment. And this segment is brought to you by the greatest faction in the FWWC today, La Familia, ran by one L. Mata. Old Battle Cat thought that he was going to get the best of El Mata, and he was wrong.
Well, you know what, Jonesy? Jonesy, I definitely want to get into that, and I definitely want to bring in all the callers. Please jump over to the FWWC chat and challenge both Red and Blue Brand members to come on and talk to us. We're going to extend the FWWC segment to 8:40 p.m. Central Time. That's 9:40 p.m. Eastern for those that are listening live. And if you're listening on the replay, we love you just the same. If you're listening on iTunes or whatever application you happen to be listening to us on, please leave us a rating. Share the broadcast, man. That's all we want. We don't charge a dime. And if you want to give us some money, we're not even going to ask you it for free. We're going to give you one of these badass Wrestle Talk mugs. Easy peasy as mac and cheesy. And before we get into any of the callers, man, I actually have a personal statement that I need to make, okay? A little bit earlier today, I was in the FWWC locker room, the Blue Brand locker room, and I had a pretty serious debate with one of the top superstars on the Blue Brand, okay? And this superstar was Savior Saint. We had an argument. We almost came to blows because I thought that he was being disrespectful towards me. I thought he was being disrespectful towards the process and the way things operate here in the FWWC, okay? And you know what? After I've taken some time and thought about it, okay, Big Daddy P encouraged me to pray about it. I feel terrible because this individual has given 2 years of his life to this group, has never given us any reason to believe that his intentions are not good, but I allowed my anger to get the best of me, and I kind of went off on him, okay? I said to him, look, dude, it's one thing if you want to talk shit back here in the locker room. It's a whole nother thing if you're going to run down my podcast and you're going to run me down in public. And I took a huge offense to that. And he said to me, hey, listen, you told me you wanted me to sell tickets to the upcoming pay-per-view. You wanted me to make sure that I highlighted everything that's going on in the brand battle. That's what I did. And if you didn't like it, it's because you misunderstood it. And you know what? To this point, I'm still not so sure that those weren't personal shots. But what makes me uncomfortable and what makes me want to apologize, Jonesy, is that I've got no proof. I can only go off of what I believe. And what I believe in my perception, they're not facts. There's just my opinion. Just like when we do Snippets of Truth, you know, you bring up a topic, I give off my opinion, and really it is no more than just an opinion. And so for me to make an assertion and to assume that somebody has bad intentions is very immature of me. And like Big Daddy P said, if this individual did have bad intentions, it's not my responsibility to reprimand him. I'm not his father. I'm not his daddy. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even his boss. We're colleagues. We're friends. And I took it upon myself to try to teach him a lesson. And you know what? Instead of like feeling good about it and being like, I called you on your bullshit, I feel like shit about it, bro. Why? Not because I think I'm wrong, but because this is a friend. This is a guy that's been loyal to me from the beginning. This is a guy that I've in the past called my ace, my right-hand man, the next coming of. And really, bro, all that went out the window, not for any other reason than for my own selfishness. So I want to go ahead and bring him on and make sure that he understands that I'm talking about him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. What I believe to be the greatest UFC champion of all time, one of the greatest Universal champions of all time, one of the greatest tag team UFC champions of all time, one of the greatest hardcore championship champions of all time, former general manager, leader of the Saviors of Funk. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the show for the first time in like about a week. The one, the only, Savior Saint of FWWC Blue. Savior, you're on live with the Wrestle Talk Podcast, FWWC segment. You heard what I had to say, bro. You can either bury me or we can bury the hatchet. It's totally up to you, bro. I am at your mercy.
I'm really at a loss for words. I appreciate all that, honestly. I'm ready to bury the hatchet, man. And like I said, and to let everyone know, like when my boss comes to me and says there's a problem, there was 4 or 5 reactions on last week's scorecard. My boss comes to me with a problem, I fix that problem. And granted, I may have caused the problem with it, but if you look at this scorecard that just happened, it's had about 20 plus comments and over 10 reactions. So what I did worked, but it kind of backfired for a bit and caused a rift to where we're at now. And I learned my lesson to communicate better once more, as that's been my kind of main problem the whole time, even when I was GM. But sometimes whenever I don't communicate, things are awesome and they happen. And that was good heat until it became personal, and we squashed that with everything already. So, but my intentions were just to build and bring attention to something that lacked attention the previous week when my boss brought it to my attention, or my colleague, like you said, not Al.
Well, and you know what?
With respect to the podcast.
No, I got you, man. And here, let's be like, let's be about as transparent as we can be, right? So in our fantasy group in the FWWC, tensions run high. And you would think, there's a lot of people that listen to the show, and where is the FWWC at? I only see 6 people on hold. What the hell is this about? I need 10 people on hold right now, guys, darn it. Because we're going to get to all of y'all tonight. But we take things to heart here because this isn't your typical EFED. And I know there's a lot of people that listen to the Wrestle Talk podcast, including the women's champion, Sister Haas. All right. She's been in EFEDs before. She's in this one now. And I've heard it from her own mouth. This is different. This is better than anything I've ever done before. So whenever you get into making claims like we are the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, Saint, there's going to be emotions involved because people are putting a serious amount of time and a serious amount of effort into what they do. These aren't Facebook Live car promos every single time. Now, you will see those from time to time. We're working on correcting that. But there are promos that I'm sure you would agree take 2-3 hours to edit. It may be a minute and a half, 2.5 minute promo. It might take you 3 or 4 hours to edit it. So obviously, when you're putting that much work in, there's an emotional investment. Okay. And I respect that. And I know that that's kind of like a double-edged sword that comes with being the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. And I'm starting to understand that what you did was for the sake of continuing to move the needle. As you know, your old buddy outta likes to say, right? Let's move the needle. I'm Jones. I'm sure you're loving hearing this, right? Because everybody loves when, all the familiar guys love it when we mention outta. But the bottom line is this. We put our emotions on the line to create great content. There's a reason that we have watch parties that draw more than some of the independent wrestling shows out there. There's a reason that our promos are better than some of the independent wrestling promotions out there. There's a reason that our posters are better than some of the independent wrestling promotions out there because of the amount of heart and passion that we put into it. In the words of a good friend of mine, we keep it savage, real savage all the time. So these things are going to happen from... Not you, dummy. No, not what would you say?
That is true. That is definitely true. But I think that the question that needs to be asked is how Saint feels about Enchantress getting suspended for 2 or 3 weeks.
No, don't do that.
Enough is enough, Jonesy. Let me finish this conversation with Savior Saint, and then we'll move on to your shenanigans. So, Saint, I will leave you with this. When you care about something the way we care about it, emotions are going to run high. There's no question. And there is a very blurred line with what is kayfabe and what is out of character. Much like actual true professional wrestling, sometimes it's hard to tell if the injury is real. Sometimes it's hard to tell if the heat is real or not. And I think the lines were blurred to a point today where it was hard for both of us, me being one of the originators of the group and you being one of the greatest contributors we've ever had. Even guys like us can get caught up in an emotional situation. There's a misunderstanding, and then we tend to want to try to, one-up each other and it turns into a dick swinging contest. And the matter of fact is that when it's between friends, it should never be that way. But let me say this, and there's always a positive in everything as far as I'm concerned. And here's the positive of it. Number one, we're working through it. Number two, we're both still here. And number three, you're right, mission accomplished. We wanted to draw more attention to the FWC brand battle, which we're only halfway through, and you did that. The part of it that makes it harder to swallow is that when and this and this. We all know in this life that you can work your ass off and do things the right way, and even then things aren't going to work out for you. So when you go down that road, you're garnishing and garnering a lot of negativity that could potentially spread to the rest of the locker room. And this is a blessing and a curse, my friend. And I don't know if you knew this. People love and respect you. So what you say has influence and it has power and it carries throughout the locker room. So if you've got some scumbag like Big T the Paisan talking trash, no one gives a shit. But when it's Savior Saint saying it, the exact same thing, people listen. So that is the double-edged sword. That is the good and bad of it. When you have influence, when you have credibility, when you have respect, what you say, whether you intend to mean it in a certain way or not, it can send waves through the rest of the FWWC like we've seen today, and those waves are not always good. Waves can create a great surf, or great waves can destroy. We know that. So just be mindful of the power of your words, and just know I am extremely proud of you, even though you came up a little bit short for the Legends Championship, because there's no doubt in my mind if we went into the first ever edition of the FWWC Hall of Fame, at some point you would be a part of it, sir. And that is not bullshit. That's not me being blowing smoke up your ass or anything. That's just me speaking truth. So as long as we can continue to communicate and work through our differences, bro, I hope that you will be here and a part of the Wrestle Talk family, the FWWC, and a part of my circle of friends and family for as long as I live, sir. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, man. Any thoughts?
Hell yes, brother. I appreciate that, man. And I want to explain a few things. Is like I'm not a stale character. I'm not trying to be like arrogant or anything, but I always want to grow and always want to improve, even to the praise that I just got. I want to be better than that. You know what I mean? I want to be first ballot Hall of Fame, shit like that. Sorry, stuff like that. I want to continue to grow. And as I'm doing that, I need to work on my delivery. Like Night Owl helped me previously in one of my posts, and it was the spicy post. I kind of buried someone. He brought it to my attention before it was approved on the page, and I fixed it. So there's another example. Like I'm continuing to grow, and I didn't mean for the shit to happen that happened. And one thing now I want to tell you real, like if I ever have a real issue with you, Night Owl, or anything, man, I will come to you. Like if I ever just am talking in chats or character, I'm just being silly or whatever, you know, like I'm always joking and shit. I'm always outgoing, fun. I'm just trying to smile, you know, all the time. That's what I try to do. So I'm sorry for the misconception. It's hard to understand people in chats. That's why I try to send a lot of voicemails so people can hear me like laughing and being silly, you know, because I'm a toaster. So I always just want to
we know.
Peace and love, homie.
All right. Well, same it.
Yeah, for real. Like, so.
You're back with us, man. We lost you.
Go
ahead.
Hopefully that'll spawn any other confusion going forward to where you'll know, like I promise I will come straight to you. I won't do no shit in chats, because that's one thing when I was GM that I hated, was people airing their beef out in front of everyone. Because if this ain't no shot or nothing, this is just something I always say. Like if I have a problem with you, I'll come backstage, because we don't need an audience for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like something we can take care of between us, because we're both mature human beings. And I mean, we are gonna mess up, like you said, and like the Big Daddy P said, like nobody's perfect and stuff, and we're always learning. And everybody has their own things, and both of us kind of have anger issues. So thank God for
me. I got anger issues. What you talking about, bro? that
I'm looking forward to seeing y'all at SummerSlam though. And even though you took shots earlier, Joe, I'm proud of you for making Ref of the Month, dog. That's good shit.
Yeah, he did.
Well, thank you.
You'll find out how I feel. about Enchantress being gone.
Right. And listen, and listen, I want to say something to you, totally OOC. And you're going to be, I mean, obviously you won't be mad. I'm glad we're past this, bro, because I love you so much. I'll be in St. Louis the next 3 days if you want to make the trip up, by the way. I hadn't even announced that. Bro, you're lucky you didn't win the Legends Championship because Mata's got the title snatch. So the plan was that if you won the Legends Championship from Slater, you were going to be facing Mata on Monday for the Legends title. So you lucky son of a bitch. If I would have got a chance.
Shit.
See, you didn't even see that shit coming, did you? Bro, I was going to.
I mean, I kind of wondered. I felt like maybe, or you were going to try to take one from someone in SOS. But once I seen you were doing that, I thought something was crazy. Some shenanigans.
Send the shenanigans.
Good, bro. You know, you're one of my favorite competitors. For real. Mata has made me what I am. For real.
Hey, man, what? Listen, bro, you might
Funky and teaming with Funky and you.
Well, listen, bro, you my ace, man. You my little bro, and I love you to death, man. I'm sorry getting hot at you a little bit earlier, man. Like I said, I don't know what was in your heart, bro. I made assumptions that I shouldn't have made. And again, that's between you and God, bro. All I know is that you've been here, ride or die. You show up, you represent, you've been a leader, you're a workhorse, man. And at the end of the day, man, you've always treated me like family, bro. So I should have done better by you. I apologize. And hopefully, man, this is the last time that we got to butt heads like this, bro.
It will be, brother. Love you too, man. Have a good night.
Grace and peace, man. Peace. All right. Well, Jonesy, before we bring on Tank, because we're going to talk to Tank and then the rest of the callers from the FWWC, and then we'll get into our one-on-one time with you. You hear that there is some tension going on in the Blue Brand locker room. You probably didn't even know it was happening. There is obviously some tension going on in the Red Brand locker room. Marcus Mayhem has not been happy as of late. And I know how you and Marcus Mayhem, you guys are like, dirt in the nail. You guys are always together, right? So is there anything that you would like to say to the rest of the FWWC Red locker room? Because I know that you share the sentiments of Marcus Mayhem when it comes to some of the stuff that's been going on with Red. What do you think, Jonesy?
We really don't have any major issues on the Red Brand. The only thing that Marcus asks is that we are active, and that's something that myself I've not been. I have not been as active as I used to be, and so Marcus is the type of who, if you're not active, he'll hit you up and he'll say, "What's going on? Why aren't you being active?" Like,
whoa.
Anything that I can
Wait a minute. Now I got to call you out because you know me as the board of directors, I'm 100% down the middle with this stuff, okay? So Ayla doesn't even know what the hell WHC means, okay? Then you got Enchantress getting suspended for 2 weeks, taking her out of the Warriors Heart Championship match, which she's one of the top superstars in the group as well. So taking her out of that is not a good idea. Okay, then you got Battle Cat running his mouth and losing the title match. So how are you telling me that there's no real problems in the Red Brand locker room, Nightmare Jones? It sounds to me like you're covering for your boy, Marcus Mayhem.
Well, for one thing, Battle Cat is an idiot. Everybody knows that Battle Cat is an idiot. And with Enchantress, she wouldn't have gotten suspended if she wasn't running her mouth on Marcus Mayhem. So basically, if you stay on Marcus Mayhem's good side, you're going to be fine. But if you move to his bad side, I feel sorry for you.
Wow. Well, you heard what Mama Time had to say about it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have quite a few callers and somebody that I can't even tell who it is down at the bottom. Intern Timmy, check on that. We're going to jump over to our boy Tank, who I know has been waiting for a good long while. And we actually have a special guest that is with Tank. This is a superstar that we have not heard from for a couple of months. He competed in his very first match a while ago against Fury in the first ever under 18 match in the FWWC. We got a couple of minutes for these guys. I know we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling Then we'll transition to FWWC stuff, and then we've got Voorhees and Sister Hoss, and then one other caller that we've got to get through, and then we'll get to Nightmare Jones. We promise, Jonesy, we'll get our time in with you no matter what. So let's go ahead and bring on two representatives from the Battle Tanks, Tank and Torpedo. Welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast tonight, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Hi.
What up, gentlemen? How you doing tonight?
Good.
What up?
What up? Well, listen.
What's up? How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, we're great, Tank. I got first question is for Torpedo. Torpedo, did you get a chance to watch the WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us what you thought about Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch beating Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, and then, of course, Seth Rollins losing the Universal Championship to Brock Lesnar, man? What are your thoughts on all that?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
What part?
What was your favorite part?
I didn't watch that one. Really.
He actually ended up falling asleep during that match.
Wait a minute. That's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. Torpedo, one day you'll understand why it's so funny that you fell asleep during that match. So let me ask you this question. You know that Brock Lesnar is the Universal Champion, man. Does that make you happy or does that make you mad?
Makes me happy.
You like Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, a little bit.
Jonesy, how do you feel about that?
Hey, you like who you like. That's okay. Torpedo is cool with me. So that's all that matters. Torpedo is cool with me.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I got one more question for Torpedo before we jump over to Tank. Torpedo, you had a chance to have a match in the FWWC a couple of months ago against Fury, man. Can you tell us what you thought about that?
I didn't really. I went to my mommy's before I saw that. I went to my mommy's before I saw that.
Oh, I see. Well, let me ask you this then. If you had a chance, would you be willing to have another match in the fantasy group?
Yes.
Awesome. Children of all ages love what we're doing over the FWWC. Well, thank you so very much for your time, Torpedo. We're going to jump over and talk to your pop here for a couple of minutes. Tank Westbrook, so happy to have you back, man. You were obviously traveling and getting your mind together after some of the stuff that happened at Money in the Bank. You took a little bit of a sabbatical. You're back now, and you've definitely come back with a totally new perspective. For those who haven't had a chance to hear, can you tell us why it is that you came back a little bit differently? And then also talk to us a little bit about your thoughts concerning Extreme Rules.
So, I just want to tell you this real quick, Night Owl. Thank you for somewhat, forgiving me and letting me back in. The first night on Raw, when I came back, when I was getting ready to head out for my match, you were right there in the back locker room, and you shook my hand and you said, "Welcome back. Go get them, kid." So that meant a lot to me. While on my little, suspension vacation, I traveled the world. I would visit the monks. I visited the mountains, anywhere and everywhere. I even went to Hawaii. And through the times, it made me have my eyes open that why do I need to hate you? Why do I need to be so mean? The fans love me. The fans want me. FWWC wants me. We're all family. We're all friends. We're here to have fun. So you know what? Tank 2.0 is here. He's rocking. He's having fun with it. There's nothing I can do about the past. There's nothing I can do except for the future to just move on and become better for myself and better for the group and the fans.
Oh, that's awesome, man. We love to hear it, and obviously you've had some success already earlier on coming back, and obviously, we're getting into a position now where we're looking towards SummerSlam. But before we do that, man, I definitely want to get your thoughts on some of the earlier discussion that we had, because I know you were listening during the High Spot segment. We talked about Kevin Owens. We talked about Brock Lesnar. We talked about that Lacey Evans shot that Torpedo may want to, cover his ears for. And whatever it is that you had in mind, because I know you wanted to come on and drop some heat during the High Spot segment, man. So we're going to give you that opportunity now, man. What did you have in mind?
So here's the two biggest things I have. The first one is, the Brock Lesnar winning the title back. I hate it. I can't stand Brock Lesnar whatsoever. It brings a lot of heat for the WWE because there are a lot of fans who can't stand him. I will give Brock Lesnar credit that he's been showing up more and more. I just hope that I can see him more. I even told a good friend of mine, I said, now that Paul Heyman is in charge of Raw, I hope he doesn't shove Brock Lesnar down our throats. With that being said, he won the Universal title. I'm going to give it a little while, and I'm hoping that it doesn't turn me away from my love for Raw, and I start loving SmackDown more. My other thing that I think is Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens right now, he's so believable. It's so awesome. I love it. For him to be doing the things he's doing and talking about the things he's doing, he's so 100% on point. Ali and Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander and Apollo Crews, I feel they all need to get on the TV and get spots. So hopefully, I hope to see where this goes. I see Shane and Kevin Owens having a match or SummerSlam, but I just love it. I think it's beautiful.
Dude, that's awesome to hear. Well, Tank, just like we do with everybody else that comes on the Wrestle Talk podcast, man, we give you an opportunity to share your final thoughts with us. But I will say this before you share your final thoughts, man. The FWWC's really done some special things up to this point. We're obviously going to be kicking off a badass party for SummerSlam over at Esports in Shawnee, Kansas, man. You actually made the trip once all the way from West Virginia to Kansas City to support the Wrestle Talk podcast and the FWWC, man. Can you tell us just quickly what that experience was like, bro? Because I know it was something that you'd never done before. It was a first-time experience, man. So I want to know overall, what did you think about it, and would you do it again?
All right. Would I do it again? Hell yeah. Experience, it would be, my dad's a big truck driver, so I've been all over the road with him. To drive in a vehicle with people that I kind of knew through the group and just kind of talk to them here and there, it was different. Nightmare Jones, his wife, and Hardcore Sid went with us. It was a 17-and-a-half-hour drive out, and let me tell you, by the time I started getting out there, you can even ask Nightmare Jones, I was starting to get really, really sleepy. I ended up taking my shirt off and hooping and hollering. I wound the window down, having like cold air coming in just to keep me awake. Would I do it again? Like I said, yeah.
Absolutely love to hear that. Tank, man, we love you so much. Jonesy, why don't you jump in with any final thoughts for Tank so we can get through the rest of the callers and then get into our time with you, Jonesy, because I got a couple of questions for you, brother. And from what I understand, we're actually facing off against each other in tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge, and I'm ready to go, baby. So let's go ahead and say goodbye to Tank and move on to the next caller.
Thank you, sir, for calling in. You're more than welcome to call in anytime that you want to, sir. Until next time, peace.
Peace.
Woo. All right.
Good stuff, bro.
That was
good.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Well, listen, I don't want to cut any more into your time, Jonesy. So we're going to kind of rapid fire through some of these other callers. Guys, we're going to give you 30 to 45 seconds. Just come in, make your statement, show love, show hate, cut a promo, OOC. It doesn't really matter. Just when you come on, please bring the heat. We're going to start from top to bottom from who's been on hold the longest. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the show. A man that resides in the great state of Arkansas, a man that is always humble and hardworking. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, your current FWWC Red Brand Intercontinental Champion, the Bishop, Devontae D.
Greetings again, gentlemen.
Hola.
I just want to say that that Extreme Rules was a long and hard night, but the Prophets of Madness and myself came out with the W because I stepped inside the ring with Rashard Priest, who claimed to not know who I was. And then it was on to the Triple Threat Tornado Tag match. You were there, Jonesy, in which the Prophets of Madness came out with the W as well. So now I hear this Monday night, the new man on the block, the new kid on the block, JJ the Common Man, is cashing in his shot for my Intercontinental Championship. So this Monday night, Mr. Common Man, if you're listening, you're about to meet the Bishop of Beast Mode. I'll see you soon, and very soon.
Wow, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Bishop, Devontae D. Well, listen, we're going to go from the Bishop, Devontae D, to another big and intimidating man. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a man that resides in Crystal Lake. And from what I understand, he's got his eyes set on the Warriors Heart Championship. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back into the show, Mike Voorhees.
And so we can understand you.
Nightmare Jones, Night Owl. This Monday night, the WAC tournament, Douglas James, you will suffer pain, bloodshed, and destruction, and I will not stop until I become the Warriors Heart Champion.
Okay, well, the lights just went dim inside the studio, Jonesy, and I got my kunai out, so I don't know what to say other than Warriors Heart Champion, Daniel Grimm. Good luck, because you got everybody on the red brand and the blue brand coming after your ass. I'd be especially intimidated by the 330-pound man wielding a machete. I'm just saying, Voorhees, bro, crazy dude. He's hungry, and I think after his run-in with Theory, he's found a new fire and intensity that we've not seen before. So that's a little bit scary to think about. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we got two more callers left. We're going to finish off with the brand new FWWC Women's Champion in just a matter of moments. But we have a brand new caller that has never joined us before. He's a guy that recently got picked up by FWWC Red. Ladies and gentlemen, representing them bars and them streets, welcome into the show for the very first time, the one and only Remy Ricks.
No, Renee, it's the motherfucking Remy Ricks.
Oh, my bad.
I appreciate it. But just keep it short here for once. We all know I suck at keeping shit short. Couple things I want to speak on. Monday, the Warriors Heart Championship tournament starts, and it's me against Nightmare Jones in the first round. And what it boils down to for me, win or lose, the fact that I've made it this far in such a short time really says a lot. Whether people love me or hate me, at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm just here to do what I do, and I keep saying it, and I'm gonna say it again. That's break necks, take straps, and cash checks. But something kind of serious. I see Enchantress got suspended today, and yeah, I'm probably gonna get a little hate for saying this, but I kind of feel some way about it for the simple fact that, to me, it kind of makes things look worse for the Red Brand, like you were saying earlier about all the problems and shit going on in the Red Brand. If you got a problem with Savior Sane and One Eye, whatever, don't take it out on one of your top talent brands. Find a way to get things done with him, because at the end of the day, you're hurting the Red Brand by hurting one of your top talents on the show. But other than that, just like every other day, you know who the fuck it is. It's Remy motherfucking Rich.
Boom, baby. Remy motherfucking. Hey, listen, somebody tag Marcus Mayhem, because for once, Jonesy, it wasn't me. It wasn't me speaking the truth about these La Familia shenanigans. Let somebody that's relatively new to the group speak it. Because if it wasn't for Marcus Mayhem, the Enchantress would be in the Warriors Heart Championship match. She would have an opportunity to get in for absolutely free. And you know what? She's captured pretty much every other championship in this group. And as far as I'm concerned, if she's not in the match, it's losing something. That's how I feel about it, Nightmare Jones. I don't know how you feel, but I don't know how you can be happy about this decision by your brother in La Familia and general manager of the Red Brand, Marcus Mayhem.
If it wasn't for Enchantress running her mouth, she'd still be in this thing. But see, she kept talking smack about La Familia. Remy Rich, you better watch out, because you could be the next one to be suspended. Shoot.
Fucking bullshit.
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, we do have one more caller left before we move into our time with you, Nightmare Jones, because I got a couple of great questions for you, man. But listen, the brand new FWWC Women's Champion is on the line, okay? And she's got a statement to make because many doubted her. Many criticized her tactics, said it's not going to work. You're dropping nothing but memes. And now, personally, I would love to see more promo work out of her, because that's what this group is built on. But I'm not going to dispute the strategy, at least for now, because it worked. She took the championship away from the Enchantress, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the show, the one, the only, the brand new FWWC Women's Champion, Hardcore Sis.
Thank you very much there, Night Out. You know, I was going to say just what you said. You know, a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people said I was conceited and I had a big head and you can't back up what you say and all this. You know, I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. When I did the video promos, everybody said, go back to the memes. We get tired of seeing in your videos crap. You know, whatever I do, it gets criticized. But you know what? In the end, at the end of the day, who's got the women's strap now?
Well, it's funny that you say that, Hardcore Sis. And I know Jonesy is chomping at the bit to get in here. But if anyone can relate to you about being criticized about every damn decision that they make, whether it's a good or bad one, it's me, sister. And sometimes I'm wrong. You heard a little bit earlier, I had a conversation with Savior Saint concerning kind of some poor choices that I made. But if anyone can relate to you about being damned if you do, damned if you don't, it's yours truly, the Night Owl. Please proceed.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. And you know, Night Owl, I feel for you. You know, sometimes you just got to say, damn the haters, and do what you do. And if they don't like it, in the end, when it goes your way, you can look back and say, how do you like me now? And that's all I can say to all the haters out there. How do you like me now? You know, y'all can say all you want, I was conceited, but I backed it up, didn't I? So, but this Monday night, I have a match against Big Papa Kirk for the Warriors Heart Championship round, the first round. Now, you know, Big Papa Kirk is one of those that we don't see a lot of Big Papa Kirk. You know, he's not around very often except on maybe Monday nights when he has a match. I don't see a whole lot of promos out of him. So I really hope you're going to step it up, Papa Kirk. And I really hope that since you're going up against the women's champion, you're going to be worthy of that. Now, I know you're a well-decorated veteran here in the FWWC, so I really hope you're going to live up to that. And I hope you're going to bring it, because Hardcore Sis really don't want to make the easy step. I want this to be a fight worthy of a champion. So bring it on.
Well, Jonesy, listen, I know that you're going to have a hard time being respectful here, but I'm going to let you have a comment or a question towards Hardcore Sis. Can you please try to show a little bit of decorum for the new women's champion?
Congratulations. You happy?
Wow.
Thank you.
That's more than I expected. Well, Hardcore Sis, just like we do with every other caller, go ahead and drop your final thoughts with us so we can move on to this interview with my partner in crime, the one and only Joe Lance.
You know, all I want to say is to all the FWWC people, you know, regardless of any miscommunications and any problems we have, in the end, we're all family here. You know, FWWC is all family. And no matter what, whether we hate you, whether we love you, when it comes to the back room, when it comes to the OCC, we're all family. And we all need to get along and just remember that we're all family and we love each other. And let's just all remember that. And when you do something that may not be right, just remember, take it to God and then go take it to each other and just put your arms around each other and say, I love you. And just be good to one another.
Amen and amen. Ladies and gentlemen, your FWWC, brand new FWWC Women's Champion, Hardcore Sis, holding it down, man. I'm so proud of her, bro. Like I said, not enough video promos, but she's here and she calls into Wrestle Talk and she posts and she comments. So outside of the video promo part of her game, she is on point, bro. And I'm very proud of her for capturing the championship from one of the best competitors we have around here, the Enchantress. Even you've got to be impressed by that, Jonesy.
That's right. Hardcore Sis, the only FWWC competitor that you can smell from all the way. She could be in Kansas City, and I can smell her in West Virginia.
My goodness. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bearing with us through the FWWC segment. I know that took a little bit longer than what everybody's used to. But you know what? Gosh darn it, the FWWC people are the most loyal listeners that we have here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, man. And the fact of the matter is, dude, that we would not be where we are without them. So we love you guys. If you want more information on the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, please do us a favor and visit WrestleTalkPodcast.com and slide over to the fantasy wrestling tab. And there's more information available for you guys there. We are going to get into your interview, Nightmare Jones. But there is one little thing that I think we need to do, and I think you'll wholeheartedly agree. As you guys heard when we were talking to Big Daddy P, we did lose somebody, a member of the Wrestle Talk family, a former guest of the show, former Diamond Pro Tag Team Champion, the one, the only Keon Option. So we're asking everybody to keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and also his family that's coping with this tremendous loss. He was only 25 years old, ladies and gentlemen. 25 years old. Let that sink in as we go ahead and ring the honorary 10-bell salute for the one, the only, the valedictorian, Keon Option. Rest in peace, Keon Option. That said, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to transition into our final segment of tonight's show, and that is the exclusive interview with your very own Nightmare Jones. Now, Jonesy, you know I've kind of gained some recognition around the pro wrestling community for doing great introductions, and I'm humbled by that. But the fact of the matter is, bro, that it's hard for me to introduce you because I could introduce you as one of my very best friends, Joe Lance. I can introduce you as one of the greatest competitors in FWWC history, Nightmare Jones. I could introduce you as official referee Joe Lance, and I could also introduce you as the creator and co-host of the Wrestle Talk podcast, Jonesy. So it's a little hard for me to kind of do what I do with every other guest, but I guess I'll do what feels right. And what feels right is to introduce you as one of my very best friends. The reason that I choose to do it that way, Jonesy, is because, and this is something you probably haven't heard me say before, when I was a kid, I loved playing basketball. It was my favorite sport. Unfortunately, I'm not tall and athletic like basketball players. The only thing that you would look at me and resemble to basketball is my shape, because I'm about the same shape as a basketball. Otherwise, I'm only 6 feet tall and I'm 300 pounds. So basketball wasn't really something that I figured was going to be in my future long term. But that was okay with me, because as much as I wanted to play basketball, there was one thing that I loved more than basketball, and that was broadcasting. I remember sitting in my kitchen watching this little small white TV that my mom had in the kitchen, and I would watch Miami Heat games on Sun Sports, and I would watch every single game. And a lot of it was because I loved Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning, but a lot of it was because of Dr. Jam Ramsey. One of the commentators just made it so exciting, and it could be a boring game, but he had so much great information that I always wanted to listen. And then when I transitioned from that and started watching ESPN, I remember loving all the highlights and stuff, but I remember watching it over and over and over, because they would repeat that Sports Center over and over and over. And when it was like Stuart Scott and Kenny Mayne, or any of the guys like Chris Berman, I just wanted to hear them guys talk, man. And I was like, one day that's what I want to do. And one fateful day at a Metro Pro show, I met your ex-co-host, Rick Rose. And from that day on, man, I had the opportunity to build and grow a relationship with you. And it's been one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me in my whole life, because I always wanted to do this, bro, but I never figured out how to do it. I had kids at an early age. I never had the opportunity to actually go to school, to study to be a broadcaster, be on television. So my dreams were kind of all snuffed out, because I decided to take that step and become a father and a husband, and that changes your life. If you're a good one, it'll change you. You feel what I'm saying? But because of the Wrestle Talk podcast and something that you created so many years ago that you probably just did for fun, you've given me the opportunity to live out a lifelong dream, bro. So with all that being said, longest introduction of all time, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the show, the one, the only Nightmare freaking Jones.
Can't explain all the feelings that you're making me feel. My heart's in overdrive and you're
Jonesy, welcome to your own show, bro. How you feeling?
What's up? What's going on, man?
Not much, bro. Not much. Well, listen, we're going to do things very, very crazy. We got about 15 minutes to do our thing. So we're going to go ahead and start off with what we usually end with, out of respect for his time, because we know he's very, very busy. We're going to go ahead and start with tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge, and then get into some of the interview questions. So go ahead and bring Skywalker on, tap intern Timmy on the shoulder, and have him hit that tune, ladies and gentlemen, because it is time, for the first time ever, for the Night Owl and Nightmare Jones to face off in tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Intern Timmy, hit the music. You're live, Luke Roberts. Take it away.
Well, gentlemen, it's always an honor and a privilege to be here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. And tonight I am here with tonight's installment of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. And wait, whoa, hold on a second here, gentlemen. Before I get this started, I gotta talk to intern Timmy here. You can't be serious.
What's the matter?
You cannot be serious with
What?
this topic, Timmy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in honor of tonight's guest, Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance, tonight's category for the Game Show Challenge is the top of the mountain is in Kansas City. All three of tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast answers will be individuals who won championships in Kansas City.
Jonesy, how you feeling about this?
Gentlemen.
You might as well just make that tacos.
All right, well, gentlemen, I'm not going to...
Go ahead, Skywalker. Take it away.
I know for a fact, guys, that both of you know the rules. I know that you know that that's 2 out of 3 falls, so I'm going to go ahead. Renee, are you ready?
The Night Owl is ready. Let's go.
Nightmare Jones, are you ready?
Let's do this.
All right. On May 7th, 2000, the WWE Hall of Famer won the WCW World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Diamond Dallas Page and David Arquette. Near the conclusion of the matchup, no, it is incorrect. Both David Arquette and this gentleman broke guitars over DDP.
Jeff Jarrett,
leading to the victory.
That was me. I'm
gonna have to go back here to the tape, gentlemen, because that was extremely close. Hold on 1 second here. Timmy, what do we get? And by just a split second, the first question goes to Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance.
What? Are you serious right now? There's no freaking way. Bull crap.
It was Jeff Jarrett.
Never drew a dime. Not a dime.
All right, question number 2. What do you got?
All right, question number 2, gentlemen. Here we go. This man, known for the dreaded poisonous green mist, and his
Tajiri.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the second question is Renee.
Yeah, baby.
The question. This man, known for the dreaded poisonous green mist and the tarantula, won the WWE Cruiserweight Championship not once, but twice, both in Kansas City.
I know how you're feeling right now, Jonesy. I got a drop for that.
All right, well, here's the deal, gentlemen.
Stupid.
All right, let's go, baby.
All right.
Final question.
Now that we've got all this taken care of, we're down to that final and all-decisive third fall. Here we go, gentlemen. At Backlash 2002, this man became WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He is also known for the emergence of the WWF and as the mysterious third member of the NWO. Name it.
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan?
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's winner of the Game Show Challenge, brought to you right here by the folks of the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee, is the Night Owl, Renee Martinez. The correct answer was Hulk Hogan. Renee wins tonight, 2-1.
Take that, Nightmare Jones, you bum. You always making fun of me. Give my gosh darn victory music before I drop an elbow on your ass. Where's my... I get no music? I get no music tonight? Really? Wow, I'm feeling disrespected right now. Really upset.
Yeah, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they say there, and they say there, and they say there.
1-0, baby. Hey, Nightmare Jones, anytime you want to face off, let's do this, baby. I'm ready to scrap.
Yeah.
Really? That's all you got? Well, listen, Skywalker, we're thankful that you decided to come in and join us for today's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge, man. Just real quickly, because we got to get back to Jonesy here. You heard the news a little bit earlier that was posted by the folks over at Dynamo Pro Wrestling. We lost somebody that I think we all care for deeply, a member of the pro community and also a friend, the former Dynamo Pro Tag Team Champion, the valedictorian Key and Option. Any thoughts that you might want to share with the listeners, since you had the privilege of sharing the locker room with him on many occasions?
Well, Renee, Joe, I got to tell you right now, I'm really at a loss for words. The news hit me today. Came across my email. I got a message saying that I needed to go into the executive board meeting, and like I said, know that Keon Option, without question, was one of the greatest competitors that I had the privilege of having an opportunity to watch inside a Dynamo Pro Wrestling ring. And I know for a fact, gentlemen, that when you look at tag team wrestling in Dynamo Pro, I have to say one of the greatest matches that I ever had the opportunity to watch inside a Dynamo Pro ring in the tag team division was a match between High Level Enterprise, between John Webb and Jack Campbell, taking on Strapsdown University of the valedictorian Keon Option and Justin Bier. And these two men, without question, left a huge, actually I shouldn't say two match sales, 4 men, left a huge legacy inside the ring that night. I was ready living here in St. Louis. I got to tell you right now, guys, I really don't have much more to say right now. I'm really at a loss for words, but I got to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, Keon Option was one of the best. I know I want to extend my sincerest condolences to his family and to his friends. Like I said, it hit a lot of people with Dynamo Pro as a shock. And like I said, he will definitely be missed inside the squared circle. A great man, Keon Option, gone much too soon. And gentlemen, like I said, I don't want to bring this down. I know that we got an interview coming with Nightmare Jones, Bill Lance. But guys, like I said, Dynamo Pro Wrestling, I want to thank the Wrestle Talk Podcast. I want to thank a lot of the wrestling community for all their support for the Option family. And like I said, guys, it's been crazy this year, man. I sat back and I looked at it today. In the past year, there have been 5, not 1 or 2, but 5 wrestlers now that have passed away in the St. Louis area. And all of them have made their mark in professional wrestling. And I got to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, Keon Option was one of those, a great man, a great person, and one man that was definitely miss, not just in Dynamo Pro Wrestling, but anybody that came in contact with him would say, without question, he was a very kind, honest, and caring man. And with that, gentlemen, I'm going to go and get back to your interview. Thank you for giving me the time. And like I said, we will be back on here. I know we got some events coming up in a few weeks, some big news and some big guests coming on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. So like I said, gentlemen, thank you for the time. Renee, again, congratulations on your victory tonight. And Dynamo Pro Wrestling will be back on the Wrestle Talk Podcast real soon.
All right.
Grace and peace to you, Luke Roberts. Thank you for your thoughts. Well, Jonesy, we definitely want to get back to talking with you, man, because there's quite a few questions that I have, and we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So you and I had a conversation a while ago about kind of some of the stuff that you dealt with, and I know you're very passionate about equality. You're a big spokesperson when it comes to anti-bullying campaigns and things like that. You have a huge heart. You're an extremely compassionate person. So if you can, and only if you're willing to, let's talk a little bit about the young Nightmare Jones and some of the things that you dealt with early on, because I know a lot of people that listen to the show can probably relate, and how you've gone from what you dealt with back then. You know, I think there might have even been some depression, suicide, things like that. We can only get into that as much as you're willing to get into it. I'm totally cool with it. But then for you to like blossom, like I know Wrestle Talk played a big part in that, because I know you've mentioned it to me before. Can you talk to us about where you were, kind of where you are, and how you got there, please? Because it might help somebody. So
Sure. You know, like any other, person, kids can be insanely mean. You know, saying people would say things about me. I didn't have very many friends that I would hang out with. You know, I never got Valentine's Day cards. I didn't get invited to parties. I didn't get invited to the movies. You know, everything I did was by myself. I did a lot of things by myself. But, you know, I got used to seeing movies by myself, going to the mall by myself. And, I in high school, I got to a point where I was depressed. And at one point, I did try to commit suicide. Thank God that it didn't work. I really feel that God was saying that, you know, it's not going to happen, because, you know, I'm not going to go into details about what I tried to do, but then I went to the West Virginia Rehabilitation Services Center, because I have a learning disability, and it was a school for kids that have disabilities. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was like everybody else. Because when you have a learning disability in school, you go to like different classes from everybody else, and everybody knows that you go to these other classes. So they view you as not being as smart as them. They view you as being different. So at the center, it was completely different. I was like everybody else. And for the first time in my life, I gained friends. And I kept gaining friends. And I became more and more and more outgoing. And but when I went into the center, I wasn't outgoing at all. I was very, very quiet. If you would have known me back then, you would have known that I would have never have done this. I would have never have been on a podcast. But the center is what helped me get past all that, and I became more outgoing, and that's why I am the person that I am today.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm getting text messages right now, bro. You got people tearing up and stuff. It's crazy, and I'm very inspired by you, Joe, because when we met, you were already hosting this show. I mean, you didn't need me. You had a great co-host to a certain extent, and you decided to welcome me on, and you were very open. And I know your co-host was a little apprehensive about some of the stuff that we were saying and doing. But I think that beyond some of that stuff that we dealt with, we realized that we had a lot of mutual respect for each other. And I think that's where we've gotten, to where we are today. So to expand upon that same question, so you said, hey, if people that knew me back in middle school and high school would have never thought I'd be doing this. So how is it that you did decide to jump into the world of podcasting? And then obviously from that point, we've gone to a whole nother different level. Humbly speaking, the Wrestle Talk podcast is successful. So what was that transition like? Where did that light bulb go off, and how did pro wrestling play a factor in all that?
I was working at a gas station in my neighborhood, and there was a podcast going on Blog Talk Radio called Shut the F Up and Listen by Michael Green. And I was listening to the podcast, and I said, you know what? I've been a huge fan of professional wrestling since I was a little kid. So if he can do a podcast just talking about anything, I can do a podcast talking about professional wrestling. And back then, you didn't have, podcasts like you do now. You didn't have the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast and all these other podcasts. This was back when podcasting was just basically starting. And so I started the Wrestle Talk podcast, which at the time it was just Wrestle Talk. And I got to be honest, it wasn't very good. I got maybe 2 listeners, if I was lucky. So I ended up picking up a co-host, JB, and we started doing YouTube shows, and we got a little bit more successful. And then he stepped away, and I picked up Chris Rose, and we went to another platform, and we became even more successful. And then you came along, and Chris Rose stepped away, and we became even more successful than we've ever been. So it's like we started at the bottom, and now we're here.
So what you're saying is that once you dump me and move on to your next host, that's when you're really going to be competing with like Sam Roberts and Jericho, right? That in the Big Shaq podcast. I'm seeing a pattern here, Nightmare Jones. I'm starting to get concerned.
Because I will have to say that if for any reason you were to step away from the podcast, and I'm being completely honest, I would probably end the Wrestle Talk podcast, because I would not want to do the podcast with anybody else but the Night Owl Renee Martinez.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm being completely honest.
I
would not want to do the podcast with anybody else but the Night Owl, and that's honest to God truth.
See, and here I thought the whole time you hated me and loved El Mata. I never knew you felt that way about me, Joe. Man, I'm flattered.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the FWC, then it's a different story. I mean, if you think about it, the Night Owl has allowed me to come to Kansas City, crash at his house. He's fed me. We've drank together. We've gone to.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm gonna stop you right there. You said we drank together. Are you gonna tell the story about that one time that you tried to kill me?
Well, I was gonna talk about the time at NatsuCon when you kept falling asleep.
No. Wait a minute. Why? Listen, don't be making shit up, Joe. Don't be making shit up here on the show. All right, we'll talk about NatsuCon here in a second, but I want to talk about Devil's Cut, okay? Because I'm going to go ahead and warn everybody in the Wrestle Talk podcast. Joe Nightmare Jones will buy you a drink. Shit, he'll buy you 3. He's got the money. He'll buy a whole bottle. And if he doesn't have any money, he's gonna be nervous, and he's not gonna ask you for nothing. That's the kind of guy that he is. And trust me, that's all the truth. But if this man's got the money, he will buy a whole bottle. All I can say is do not let this man pour your drink. Because no. Stop laughing. Why don't you go ahead and tell the story? Because you almost killed me, and I was having a good time doing karaoke before you try to poison me, Nightmare Jones. I mean, damn.
I mean, yeah. When they asked me to pour him a drink, and I may have poured a little bit more of the Devil's Cut than the Coke. So I mean, it was all good times.
You're fluffing the truth, Joe. Joe, you're fluffing the truth. First of all, I didn't ask you for a drink. You offered me a drink. You're like, hey, bro, you want some of this Devil's Cut? And I was like, yeah, sure, man, pull up. Bro, literally, it was 98% Devil's Cut, and the glass was about half the size of one of the Wrestle Talk podcast mugs. So it had to have been about 6 to 8 ounces of alcohol and like a 1/4 ounce of whatever it was that we were drinking at the time. It might have been cranberry juice or something. Bro, it was bad. So listen, if you like to drink, that's all well and good, but trust me, you couldn't even digest this shit. It was like drinking straight up kerosene. This is what this man was serving me.
You drank it.
Hell yeah, I did. Damn right.
Wonderful.
Well, Jonesy, let me jump into something else here real quick, man. So the Wrestle Talk podcast obviously is continuing to have success. We're grateful for all the contributions of all of our wonderful listeners and the FWWC and our wives who let us do this crap in the first place. But outside of what you do for Wrestle Talk, man, you also have your pro wrestling career as a referee. And a couple of weeks ago, I think it was just 2 weeks ago, man, you were part of a huge show which featured the Reverend Ron Hunt, the ROH's very own, who was here in the house. I know, was it Max Morrison, who's a former guest of the show, was also there. He's a huge wrestler, maybe not to the WWE level, but still very well known in his own right. And then, dude, the one and only Nyla Rose, bro. You got an opportunity to work with her as well, man. So take us through these last couple of weeks, or maybe go a little bit back further if you want to, as far as how things have been going for your career as far as a pro wrestling referee, man, because as time has gone on, we talk, and it's like every weekend you're doing some pretty cool stuff, bro. So why don't you tell the listeners about it?
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome show. That was the Eclipse show in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which they have another show coming up August the 3rd. If you're in the area, you definitely want to check it out. Nyla Rose will be in action once again, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I got to referee a Nyla Rose match, and it was pretty awful. It was pretty awesome and surreal because, there were a couple of times where I went to Kobe Pro and I watched Nyla Rose wrestle. So this is kind of cool, being able to actually referee one of Nyla Rose's matches, somebody that I've seen wrestle a bunch of times. And then, Max Morrison, I got to referee his match, which was awesome. Max is an awesome guy, and the Reverend Ron Hunt is one of the nicest guys that you're ever going to meet. And then we went home, and a couple hours later, we made the trip up to Big Bear Lake for CPW, and that is where I got body slammed and elbow dropped by the 400-pound Hot. It was not a very fun experience. My neck is still hurting from that experience.
Bro, I'll tell you what, some of the stories and some of the experiences that you gain through pro wrestling are absolutely incredible. You go from meeting some of the hottest wrestlers in the world to getting, elbow dropped by a 400-pound person, man. I don't know if a regular Joe down the street is going to be able to tell a story like that. And that makes it cool. And you know what, Joe? I think as time goes on, you're going to continue to progress, and people are going to start to realize what a hidden diamond you are, man. What a diamond in the rough you've always been. I knew it from day one. If we got an opportunity to work together, we were going to be successful, man. And at this point, your pro wrestling career is really taking off. Obviously, the Wrestle Talk podcast continues to grow every single week, thanks to the wonderful people of the Wrestle Talk family. And then, of course, in the FWWC, bro, you're doing big things, having some success. You multi-time former champion of the group. So as we move towards closing out this interview, man, let me go ahead and ask you about that. The FWWC is the different animal. We obviously spent a good part of the show today talking to those people. Can you tell us a little bit about being a part of the FWWC, what that experience has been like? I know you heard about eFeds before you joined the FWWC, but this was a little bit different, and I know it's something that's kind of near and dear to your heart, like it is to me. But I want you to go ahead and put it in your own words, man. What does it mean to you to be a part of the FWWC? What have you learned? What have you experienced? And then the last part of that question is, how serious is your hatred for hardcore cis, bro? Because every time that FWWC comes on and you get a chance, you take shots at hardcore cis. Is that real heat or is that kayfabe heat, bro? I want the answers to all those questions, bro.
All right, so the FWWC, yes, I had heard of eFeds, and I'd taken a look at the eFeds, but I got to say, when we say the FWWC is the greatest fantasy wrestling around, it's true. It most certainly is. It's different than any other eFed. We don't even like to be considered, like to be classified as eFeds, because in our opinion, we're not eFed. Like, we are the fantasy wrestling world. in because of Rick Rose, my former partner in the Wrestle Talk podcast, and and since I've joined, I've gained friends, I've gained enemies, I've won championships. It is absolutely an amazing experience. I definitely love the FWWC. I definitely need to be a little bit more active. I have not been as active as I used to be, and I need to get back into that grind of being active. And as for Hardcore Sis, it is nothing but love for Hardcore Sis. Hardcore Sis is like a sister to me. She knows that most of the stuff that I say, I do not mean. Hardcore Sis is one of these type of girls that would give you the shirt off of her back. But the thing is that the Hardcore Sis, the character, that is Susie.
That's your sworn enemy, bro. In character, you guys are sworn enemies for life. It almost feels like that.
She is my sworn enemy. I'll say stuff like she smells and she hasn't taken a bath in like 5 years, and she hasn't brushed her teeth in like 20 years, and but deep down, it's nothing but love. I don't think that there was anybody in the FWWC that I really didn't like, except for maybe Vacant. Maybe, I mean, everybody remembers Vacant, but other than that, didn't really have anybody that I didn't really like in the FWWC.
Well, that's great to hear. And then the last thing I want to ask you about the FWWC, man, is this La Familia thing, bro. Every time the FWWC segment comes on, every time I turn on the page, there's always something about La Familia. I think there's a lot of misconception and things people don't understand. If you could sum up La Familia in a short statement, man, what would you say about it? Kind of what they stand for, why they're so hated. I just want to hear straight from the horse's mouth, man, because every time it comes to La Familia, there's one thing for sure: you're ride or die. So there's got to be a reason behind it, man. What is it?
Well, La Familia is family, foremost and above everything else. We are a legit family. There are members that aren't even in the FWWC anymore, that are still part of La Familia. Once you're part of La Familia, you stay a part of La Familia, unless for some reason you get kicked out. And not too many people have gotten kicked out of La Familia. And my love for La Familia comes from my first Universe Mania, which was Universe Mania 2. My dad was having issues. He had a brain bleed, and he had surgery, and he was back in the hospital, and I couldn't even enjoy WrestleMania because I was so upset. And it was La Familia that was there for me, not anybody else, but it was La Familia that was there for me. So that's why I have such a love for La Familia and for El Mata, because El Mata is La Familia. La Familia is a family, and people hate us because they can't beat us. People have tried to beat us left and right, and they always fail. That's why El Mata is the hardcore champion and the universal champion
and the tag champion.
That's why Corbin is the Legends champion. That's why Hardcore Haas is the U.S. champion. Shit. If I have to, I'll start wearing a dress and go after the women's championship, so the last women can have the women's championship.
Oh, will you stop that already? Come on now. See, I shouldn't even have brought it up. I mean, seriously, every time. Never mind. We're just going to leave it there. Well, Jonesy, here's the last thing that I wanted to ask you, man, before we close out today's show, is you've seen the growth of the show. You've had an opportunity to come out and visit and been a part of the events. The FWC continues to do its thing. As a ref, obviously, every weekend you're doing something a little bit different, growing and getting better. If you could write a storybook ending over the next 5 years, where is Nightmare Jones and what is he doing in 5 years?
In 5 years, hopefully Nightmare Jones will still be a referee, still be doing the Wrestle Talk podcast with the one and only the Night Owl Renee Martinez, and still taking over the FWWC by storm with the greatest faction in the FWWC, La Familia, at my side.
Wow, well, that's great to hear. Well, Jonesy, you know, it's been an absolute blast. This might be one of our longest shows ever, but I think it's also one of our very best. I know that it wouldn't be a proper interview if we didn't give you a chance to give a special shout out to that one special lady in your life. I know you guys had an anniversary not too long ago, which is one of the few reasons that you ever miss a Wrestle Talk podcast, man. So why don't you give Carrie a shout out and then close us out with any final thoughts, man?
My wife, Carrie, oh my goodness. The things that she has to put up with, like from wrestling shows, you know, like last weekend when I left at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday and didn't come back until 4 o'clock on Sunday. You know, she allows me to do, you know, what I love. You know, she allows me to do this podcast, and even though it was supposed to end at 10, it's 10:45 and we're still going. So, you know, it's just, you know, she has you know, she is by me side by side in this journey in professional wrestling and in this podcast. And she even likes the FWWC. You know, she tried to be in the FWWC, and it just didn't really work out. And, you know, it just really wasn't her thing, but she likes to be a spectator of it. So, and she doesn't like to go to the big shows, like the big WWE shows so much, but she loves going to independent shows. So there's times that I'll take her to an independent show.
And she came out all the way to Kansas City with you from West Virginia, bro. That's freaking amazing, G, that she made the trip just for you, man. That's familiar right there. The fact that she was able to willing to make the 18-hour trip from West Virginia, from Martinsburg all the way to Kansas City, dude, that should tell you all you need to know.
Absolutely. And that was a long car trip, let me tell you.
Especially with Tank taking off his shirt and all that kind of shit he was talking about.
Tank taking Tank taking the shirt off, and you haven't been on a car ride until you've been on an 18-hour car ride with Hardcore Steph.
Oh,
there were multiple times where I was trying to pay Tank to leave Susie Hardcore Sis at the gas station, but he was too kind. He wouldn't do that.
He's too much of a nice guy. You know, that's freaking crazy. Well, you know what, Jonesy, man, we're about out of time for tonight. I want to give a special shout out to Remy Riggs, who's been on hold pretty much the whole second, well, I guess the last hour and a half. Shout out to you, bro. It's your kind of loyalty and dedication that makes the FWWC pop off. Man, share a picture of that new mug that you just got, bro. Take a nice, good picture with you and the mug in it so people can see it. Tag us, share it on social media, man, and we'll retweet you. We'll share you on the Wrestle Talk podcast fan page. Shout out to him. Shout out to everybody in the FWWC. A huge condolence out to Keon Options family for obviously his tragic passing at age 25. Former Dynamo Pro Tag Team champion alongside the man in the air, Justin the Air of Straps Down University. Thank you to Big Daddy P, man. The website is on fire because of him. Some of the stuff that we've been able to learn and some of the stuff that we've been able to show some growth in are because of the stuff that Big Daddy P has brought to the table and taught us. He's kind of our big bro. Shout out to Caleb for accepting my apology. And a big shout out to Sonny Mayo for kicking off the show during the High Spot segment, man. It's definitely been a kick-ass show. So great to have the support that we do. For anybody who watched the YouTube live feed, please share this thing. Please subscribe. If you're listening to the replay, please leave a review. Please share. It's all greatly appreciated. And as always, guys, the Wrestle Talk Podcast mugs are available right now for customization at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com/merch booth. Nightmare Jones, I wanted to let you go ahead and close this out with your final thoughts, man. This was an extraordinary show. Like I said, one of the longest that we've ever done, man, but definitely already a classic episode of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, number 255, if you can believe it.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute pleasure. It has been an amazing ride. And, you know, since we've had me be interviewed, I guess the next question is when are we going to interview the Night Owl? Because I know that you have a lot of professional wrestling stories yourself.
Well, here's the thing, bro. Number one, you're going to have to talk to my people, okay? Because I got people, all right? And number two, I will not do an interview that is any less than an hour long. Because like Kenny Bolin, you already know when you bring me on the show, there's no way that you're going to get me out of here in less than an hour. Because I got a lot of shit to say that people absolutely have to hear whether they like it or not. Like, for example, ladies and gentlemen, we are still giving away the Journey Pro trucker hat, never before worn. Okay, I lied. I just put it on my head. But it is brand new. Journey Pro trucker hat can be yours. All you got to do is do what? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you're a new subscriber of the YouTube channel, and you can make it to Kansas City tomorrow night, we got an absolutely free ticket. There's not a bad seat in the house to Journey Pro's Cruel Summer. So get your ass out here and we will get you to the show. And anybody who wants this hat, all you got to do is hit us up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And make sure I don't want to confuse anybody. If you want the ticket, we still need the answer to this trivia question. If Jeremy Wyatt successfully defends the Gateway Heritage Championship tomorrow night at Cruel Summer at Kansas Hall at Overland Park, Kansas, how many successful title defenses will he have under his belt? If you can give us that answer at this point, the show's ending, so you can hit us on social media, the email, which is wrestletalkpodcast@gmail.com, DM, however it is that you can get us that answer. The first person to give us the right answer will be going to Journey Pro tomorrow night. So that said, you want a hat, hit us up on YouTube. You want free tickets to the show, shoot us a message with the right answer, and we got you. Nightmare Jones, let's go ahead and close it out, baby. I know you got some jams that you want to drop on the people, man. Thank you guys for being here. We love you. Grace and peace to everybody. Jonesy, take us home, Poppy.
Can't explain all the feelings that you're making me feel. My heart's in overdrive and you're behind the steering wheel. Touching you.
Wrestle Talk, friend and family. That brings us to the conclusion of episode 255 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Believe it or not, and this is all off the air, I've been on vacation since Thursday and have not had one full day of rest, but you know, it's all worth it for my wonderful family. And tomorrow we're going to be in St. Louis enjoying ourselves, touring the city, and then we're going to be at Six Flags.
California's where I'm at, right? Pass by while these niggas wonder why I got shot but didn't die. Let them see who's next to try. Did I cry? Hell nah, nigga, tears shed. For all my homies in the pen, many peers dead, niggas still